Hello everyone, and welcome to the Fictional Vortex. So we are back with an interesting movie on what if Naruto become a king of the gods or demons in love with Kami or Yami. But before we start, I just want to remind you to please subscribe to my channel and hit the like button if you enjoy my content. Let's start the story. Chapter 1. The Man Who Could Become a God or Demon. Naruto was fast asleep in his warm bed, having the most wonderful dream. Naruto's eyes wandered. The stage he was on consistently lit up with the flashes of cameras. Over the roar of the cheering audience. Finally, Naruto smiled as his eyes followed the man stepping onto the stage, or more specifically, the golden ticket in the man's hand. He bit his lip, mentally urging the man to come closer. Come on, he thought, come on, but that didn't quicken the man's pace one bit. He drew closer and closer to the blonde. Naruto felt drool seep out the corner of his mouth. Come on, come. Naruto's thoughts were interrupted by a loud ringing. Come on. Just as Naruto's tired, yet tense and shaking hand reached for the alarm clock to slam down and shut the demon from hell up, someone else did it for him. He let his hand drop and tried to find his way back into his wonderful dream world. A sweet, caring voice called out to him, "Good morning, Naruto-kun. It's time to wake up. 5 more minutes, Kaide." He replied, still half asleep. I had that dream again. The one where you won a lifetime supply of ramen. She giggled, receiving a nod from her blonde friend. Let me guess, you woke up just before you were given the golden ticket. Yeah, that's why I want 5 more minutes so I can finally get the damn thing. He whined, looking up to see familiar blue eyes on a face framed by silky orange locks, cascading down to just below her shoulders. More giggles bubbled from Kaide's lips. I would love for you to finally get it, but if you don't get up your breakfast will get cold. She then leaned in closer to his ear and whispered, I made ramen. Just then, Naruto's left ear grew in size to listen more closely. Miso flavor. You know that's my favorite. Of course I did, silly. She replied, smiling down at him, with some sliced pork and fish cakes. Yup, now get up before it gets cold. She took a step back as Naruto rose to his hands and knees. How do you do it, Kaide? He began as he sat up and stretched. Not only do you get up early, but you make breakfast. You don't forget a thing, do you? Not when it comes to you. Anyway, she told him as she made her way to the door. Breakfast is waiting for you, when you're ready. Come down soon, okay. Kaide closed the door behind her. It's still hard to believe we're the same age, he muttered to himself, standing up to change. His name was Uzumaki Tsuchimi Naruto. The Tsuchimi part came from his late adoptive parents, who died in an accident 8 years ago. Since then, he'd been living with Kaide Fuyu, who had been taking great care of him. She did his laundry, dishes, and pretty much everything else you could think of. He felt like he should have been the one who should be doing all the work, since he wasn't paying rent. But she wouldn't let him. Every time Naruto offered to help around the house, she would refuse to let him. On the occasions when he tried to work without asking, she would always catch him and take over what he barely started. The only thing she would probably accept was him giving her a sponge bath, but that's a little off topic. Kaide and Naruto had been friends since they were kids. They went through a rough patch in the past, but Naruto doesn't hold it against her. It became water under the bridge. As for Kaide's parents, her father works for a big company, so he is usually on business trips. For her mother, she died in the same accident that took Naruto's parents' lives. As a result, Kaide and Naruto were the only ones who lived in the house. Now what most of you are probably thinking, 2 teenagers alone in a house and all that other stuff. It's not that Naruto didn't harbor feeling for her, he just didn't want to ruin the relationship they had. After all, they have to live in the same house together, and that would make it twice as bad. So, even with Naruto's hidden feelings, the two still get along great. The only thing that worries Naruto is that Kaide works a little too hard. When he walked into the kitchen, there was enough on the table to feed 5 people. Here you go, Naruto-kun, Kaide smiled as she placed a bowl in front of said teen. In the bowl was miso ramen with 3 slices of pork and fish cakes shaped like his head, Naruto's favorite. Naruto's classmates, especially the males, would kill for Kaide's home cooking. It's like a gift from Kami, himself. And yet, he's lucky enough to eat it every day. Not only that, but he gets to eat her ramen every day. All of her cooking is delicious, but with her ramen, every bite is like an orgy in his mouth. Naruto doesn't know how she does it, but its quality is on par with the old man's ramen he used to eat for him. He sometimes wondered how they can even afford all the food she makes him. You know, Kaide, he began as he examined the spread of different foods on the table. We can just have toast, next time. Okay, I'll make toast tomorrow, she replied gleefully. Then, she went into a cute thinking pose with her chopsticks in hand. Let's see, what goes good with toast? She asked herself, causing Naruto to sweat drop. I know, some eggs, bacon, maybe some sausage, and hash browns would be good. 2. No, Kaide, I mean just plain toast. That way, you don't have to work so hard, Naruto tried to explain. Oh, no, it's not hard. I love taking care of you, Naruto-kun. It's what I enjoy doing the most, she told him, smiling fondly. Suddenly, her cheerfulness dimmed. Does that bother you? Oh, no, I don't mean it like that. Naruto quickly replied, not wanting to hurt her feelings. Her expression brightened again. Good. Would you like some tea? She offered, doing a complete 180 as she pushed her chair out to bring Naruto some tea. Eventually, Naruto and Kaide both finished their breakfast and made their way outside so they could head to school. Kaide, who closed their front door while Naruto waited for her at the front gate, ran up to him and held out his bento box. Here's your lunch, Naruto-kun. Kaide grins as she hands it to him. As he took it from her hands, he noticed that she didn't have her own lunch in her hand. Kaide, where's yours? He asked, earning a red tint on Kaide's face. Oh, gosh, I forgot. She ran back inside to get hers. Naruto looked around and noticed a few more neighbors had moved, making a total of 8. It got him wondering if they pissed them off or something. However, that thought was pushed aside as he heard Kaide rushing up to him. I'm sorry for making you wait so long, she apologized, but he waved it off. Don't worry about it, just try to remember next time, okay? She nodded. Good. Now come on, we don't want to be late. Flinging his school bag over his shoulder, he headed off to school beside his childhood friend. So, you think your Oto-san will be gone for long, this time? Naruto asked, trying to pass the time. It was a half-hour walk to school. He said he might be gone for 3 to 4 months. 3 to 4 months. Wow, most dads wouldn't leave a young man alone in a big house with their only daughter, he pointed out, watching a black cat run up some stairs. I don't know, maybe he trusts you. She replied. You think that, but he did tell me to go for it before he left, saying I have his approval, Naruto informed her. He saw her face turn red in the corner of his eyes. He should be thinking about your future. Isn't he worried that other guys might be intimidated by our relationship? Not that I'm worried if they mess with me, I'll just give them the old one too. He pumped his fist in the air, making Kaide giggle. I think Oto-san is thinking about the same future that I am, she admitted, blushing as she looked up at him. What? He asked, not catching what she said. Oh, it's nothing, Kaide replied, still blushing. Bam, I've been waiting for you, Uzumaki-tem, a man called out from atop of the stairs in front of them. Looking ahead, they saw a tall, fearsome-looking man with a cue ball-like haircut. He was in a baseball uniform, carrying a nailed bat. My name is Magnum Sakai, and I'm from Kido Kido Kaide-chan, also known as the KKK, the man declared. You racist bastard, Naruto joked. And besides, aren't you a little old to be in high school? Shut up, Uzumaki-tem, I'm not racist. I'm here to confess my love for Kaide by eliminating you. Now die, the man exclaimed as he jumped from the stairs with his bat ready to attack. Kaide, watch out, he told her. Fully aware what he was going to do, she backed away. Be careful, Naruto-kun, she whispered. Just as the man was in striking distance, Naruto shifted his stance so when the man's bat came striking down, he easily dodged it. It struck the pavement in his stead, cracking it on impact. Before the man could react, Naruto quickly chopped him in the back of the neck, knocking him out cold into a face plant. Naruto-kun, are you okay? Kaide asked, worried he might have gotten hurt. I'm fine, but I can't say the same for him. That fall looked like it hurt, he replied, worrying more about his attacker. Kaide looked at the man who just attacked her friend. He wasn't moving, but to her relief, he was still breathing. Do you think we should call someone to help? She questioned, just as worried about him. Nah, he'll be fine. I'm more worried about being late to class. If we are, Ms. Nadeshiko makes me run both of our laps, with a tractor tire tied to me. He shuddered at the thought of it. You're probably right, she would do that, she agreed. You ready, then? Naruto asked her, who looked confused. Ready for what? Eep. She yelped when her blonde-haired crush swept her off her feet bridal style and sped towards the school. She couldn't help but blush, noticing how she could feel his toned muscles against her body. When Naruto was 6 years old, something traumatic happened. Ever since then, he'd been training night and day to excel his physical strength and agility. He'd toned his training down a little, but there were still cases like the one he was currently in, where he had to sprint to school with Kaide in his arms. However, that kind of exercise was nothing to him, now. It didn't take them long to arrive at school with Naruto's speed. However, he didn't like people knowing how well trained he was, so he had to slow down once he got closer. The only one who knew about his abilities was Kaide. Many looks were shot their way, once they arrived on school grounds. Half of them were hatred toward Naruto, who had the pleasure of seeing the beautiful Kaide Fuyu in his arms, and the other half were of jealousy towards Kaide, as she was being carried by Naruto. Both Naruto and Kaide were sought after by many students, in every part of the school. Though, Kaide was the only one with a fan club. We made it with time to spare, Naruto pointed out, forgetting the fact he was still carrying a blushing Kaide. Naruto-kun, she began, still embarrassed. As she got her friend's attention, you can put me down now. Oh, sorry, he apologized, setting her down. Just as his lips parted to speak, he felt a hard slap to the back that made him stumble forward a bit. Hello, a feminine voice called out from behind. God, why do her slaps hurt so damn much? He thought as he rubbed his back. Naruto turned around to be greeted by an upperclassman, who was a close friend to both he and Kaide. Her name was Asa Shiger. She had green, shoulder-length hair with a ribbon tying up her left bangs, and purple eyes. She was a tomboy. Hello, Asa-senpai, he greeted her, still rubbing his back. Ah, is the big bad ninja wannabe hurt? She mouthed sarcastically. No, it's just your hello slaps hurt like hell, Naruto replied with a glare. Asa-senpai, what the hell? Naruto exclaimed, receiving looks from passing students. Come on, people are watching. I have it bad enough with Kaide's fanboys, I don't needs yours, he groaned. She released hold of his arm and took a step back. Oh, lighten up. If you're so worried about Kaide's fanboys, you shouldn't be carrying her in your arms on the way to school, Asa said in a matter-of-fact tone. Asa-senpai, Kaide whined, her embarrassment still present. It's okay, Kaide, I wouldn't mind having Naruto-chan carry me in his arms like that, too, she smiled. I get it, you're jealous cause I carried Kaide. And not you, so you slapped me. Naruto questioned her, a faint blush spread across her cheeks. Why you wish I did? Anyway, I have to get going, she declared before hurrying off. Naruto watched Asa disappear behind one of the many lockers, and then turned to Kaide. We should get going, too, before we're late, he suggested, heading off towards their lockers. Once they reached the door of their classroom, Naruto stopped Kaide from opening the door, having her stand back. Taking a deep breath, Naruto opened it. Kaide-chan, welcome to my heart. Some random boy exclaimed. He had ear-length, brown hair and wore glasses. Naruto punched him in the gut. Welcome to the world of pain, Itsuki, Naruto countered with malice. Ugh, sorry, man, but I don't like you like that. The man wheezed out as he slouched on Naruto's shoulder. Man, you sure pack a punch, Itsuki complained, rubbing his sore gut. Well, you shouldn't try hugging me, Naruto answered simply. I wasn't trying to hug you. I was trying to hug Kaide-chan. You just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time, Itsuki explained. More like you were Anyway, why are you always trying to go for Kaide? There are plenty of other girls. Take Mayumi for instance. He suggested. Whatever. A voice shouted out as they walked up to them. She had shoulder-length gray hair with two bangs that framed her face and hung down to her chest. She was heterochromia, which means she has two different color eyes, one being red and the other blue. Hello, Mayumi-chan, Kaide greeted. Hello, Kaide, she replied. Then she turned to the two boys. There is nothing wrong with being flat-chested. As a matter of fact, there are guys who actually prefer it, she pointed out, placing her hands on her hips. True, but that's a small percentage and you know it, Itsuki countered. What are you talking about? No one wants D cups anymore. Not Ds, not Cs, not Bs, it's all about what fits in your hand, she declared. Rubbing her chest. Does it feel like a board? Naruto joked, dodging one of Mayumi's blows. You guys, who can't wait to hug each other first thing in the morning, shouldn't talk, Mayumi scoffed, waving her hand. Jealous, he replied, smirking when he saw her blush. Ahem, anyways, what do you guys think about the new transfer student? She quickly changed the subject. Oh yeah, I heard about that. So, is the student here already? Naruto wondered. I don't know about that, but from what I hear, the student is either a god or a demon, Mayumi informed, crossing her arms over her chest in thought. The transfer student is going to be a very pretty girl, Itsuki declared, sounding very sure of himself. What makes you think that? Naruto asked, but knew it was going to be something stupid. It's in the air. I can smell pretty from a mile away, and my nose is never wrong, he replied smugly. He knew it. Whatever you say, Naruto muttered, unconvinced. He gave him a weird look. You'd be surprised. Itsuki's nose is never wrong. When it comes to girls, the gray-haired teenager attested, giving Itsuki the same look Naruto was. Does it really matter? Naruto told them, as he could care less if it were a boy or girl. You're really not interested. Well, I shouldn't be surprised, since you have Kaide, Mayumi decided. Naruto shook his head. How many times do I have to tell you it's not like that? We're just friends. The blonde responded quickly. Kaide felt a twinge of sadness, hearing the man she admired say that, but no one noticed. Come on, Naruto. If you lose your passion for girls, you'll lose your man card forever. Itsuki exclaimed. Naruto just looked at him and said, this comes from a man who just recently threw his arms around me. You're just too spoiled for your own good. You have a beautiful girl like Kaide-chan providing your every need. You don't even know you're living a man's dream come true. His four-eyed friend proclaimed, ashamed of Naruto. You don't know what you're talking about, Naruto countered, making his friend's head drop. You're hopeless, Naruto. Tell me, do you think you're living a fulfilled life, every single day? He asked his blonde friend. He didn't reply. I didn't think so. Well, I say, after school, we get you laid, Itsuki decided, giving his blonde friend the thumbs up. So that's what you're going for. Naruto shook his head. Just then, the door to the classroom opened and their teacher walked in. All right, class, butts in your seats, she ordered. Without a second thought, everyone hurried to their assigned seat and waited for the teacher to start class. Class was the same as always. The teacher was going on about an incident, 10 years ago, known as the gate opening. That was the incident when the gateway to the world of the gods and the world of the demons were opened. That was how both the gods and the demons began migrating to this world. Both have pointy ears, and the best way to tell them apart was the size of those ears. The gods had shorter ears, while demons' ears were larger. Because of the gate opening, places where humans, gods, and demons could live and studied together were created. Naruto just so happens to live in one of these places. Naruto paid no mind to either the teacher or the class. Instead, he gazed out the window, running over his conversation with Itsuki in his head. He said Naruto wasn't living a fulfilling life, which was obviously right, and that his friends all have something they do. Itsuki chases girls every day, Kaide always takes care of him. Mayumi is always chasing for any breaking news, and Asa tries to live her life to the fullest. They all found something that fulfills them, and what does he have? Nothing but school and training. Whilst he was pondering about what he lacks, he never noticed his teacher walk up to him. "You sure look relaxed right now," his teacher, Ms. Nadeshiko pointed out, leaning on his desk. It scared the hell out of him. "My class must be extremely boring for you," she added as he turned to face her, sweat drops falling down his face at a rapid pace. "Sorry, I'm such a terrible teacher." "Me too, and no, not that I mean you're terrible. Naruto panicked. Luckily, for him, the bell rang. "You lucked out, Uzumaki," she declared, standing back up on her feet. Naruto mentally sighed. It was as if he was going up against Godzilla or something. Not that she was ugly, Ms. Nadeshiko was actually a smoking babe, with a body to boot. She just can be extremely frightening. Before Naruto could reply to her comment, Ms. Nadeshiko instructed, "Come with me, we need to talk." Naruto shot her a confused look, but obeyed nonetheless. He allowed her to lead him out into the hallway. "Naruto, have you ever become acquainted with girls from other worlds, when you were a kid?" That was an unexpected question, Naruto thought to himself. "Well, not that I can remember," he answered, rubbing the back of his head sheepishly. If only she knew, he added in his head. "But I wasn't aware people from other worlds existed, back then," he lied. "Why do you ask?" "Oh, it's nothing you should be worried about, at least I don't think it is." She decided, the last part mostly to herself. "Well, you obviously have something on your mind," he pointed out. She was deep in thought. "The only advice I can give you for now, is be strong." She placed both her hands on his shoulders, giving him a nice view of her cleavage. "I'll help you as much as I can," she continued, starting walking down the hallway. "Remember to be strong, Uzumaki. And never give up, no matter what." She then turned a corner and disappeared, leaving Naruto dumbfounded. "I don't get it, what is it that I have to be strong about?" he wondered aloud. The final bell rang and everybody was up out of their seats in an instant, heading off to who knows where. As for Naruto, he walked over to Kaide, who was putting her things in her bag. "Ready to go home, Kaide?" "I'm starving." Naruto rubbed his stomach as it growled. "Sorry, Naruto-kun," she giggled. "But I can't go home yet." "Why? Do you need to stay later for something?" he asked. Before the orange-haired beauty could answer, someone called out to her. "Hey, Kaide," Asa yelled, grabbing both of their attention. "Sorry for making you wait. Are you ready to go?" Standing beside Asa was a blonde-haired girl whose hair flowed down to her waist, with two long bangs framing her face. Just like Asa, she had her bangs tied with a ribbon, only hers was on the right side. She bore green eyes and short pointy ears, signifying she was a god. "Asa-senpai and Karaha-senpai, what are you two doing here?" Naruto queried. "Hello, Naruto, it's nice to see you," Karaha greeted him. "I heard something about you and Itsuki," she added, causing Naruto to sigh. "What the hell are the upperclassmen saying, this time?" he asked, not liking where this was heading. "You know, forbidden love," she answered, her body lighting up with sparkles floating around her as she explored her own little world. Naruto face-palmed, knowing he was going to have to kick some of the upperclassmen's ass later today. Cracking his knuckles, he questioned, "Tell me, Karaha-senpai, who told you this?" "I want to pay them a friendly visit." "Naruto-kun, you can't. If you are suspended one more time, not only will you have to deal with Ms. Nadeshiko, but also you'll be expelled. So please, don't do anything rash," Kaide pleaded. "Have I really been kicked out of school that many times?" Naruto asked, shocked. He listed his reasons for suspension. In his head, let's see, the first time, I was kicked out for someone making fun of my whisker marks. Another time was when some of those KKKI diots came after me and I kicked their asses. The last I can remember was to that man who knocked over a bowl of ramen Kaide made for me in her home ed class, out of jealousy. He'll think twice before he ever tries that again. He snickered as he remembered the look on the envious man's face when he saw how pissed Naruto was. "Wow, I didn't know I was suspended that many times, but I could always take whoever it is off school property." He smiled at his own idea. "Naruto-kun, please promise me you won't get into any more fights," she pleaded once more, putting on one of the cutest begging faces he'd ever seen. Naruto sighed in defeat. "Fine, You win. I promise. Kaide smiled. Just then, the door to the class opened, revealing an enthusiastic Mayumi. The new transfer student is a girl, she announced loudly, grabbing everyone's attention, especially the boys. Not only that, but there's two of them. One of them is a god, and the other is a demon. Also, they're both really pretty. Naruto and the others watched as the whole class crowded up around Mayumi as she began to inform them of her knowledge of the incoming students. Asa looked from the crowd, over towards Naruto, and wondered why he wasn't gathered with the rest of them. What's wrong, not interested in the new girls? She asked him. I don't see the point in getting so worked up. Yeah, they're girls, but it's not like I don't see them every day, he replied, showing no interest for the new students. I get it, it's because you're with Kaide. I guess she doesn't have to worry about any romantic rivals for a while, she proclaimed. Naruto shook his head. How many times do I have to tell you guys we're just friends? He sighed, but she didn't buy it. Whatever helps you sleep at night, she shrugged, before glancing over to Kaide. Anyway, you ready, Kaide? Yes, Kaide replied. She stood up from her seat and looked at Naruto. I'm learning how to make a new recipe to cook for you. Glee was written in her expression as she spoke. Aren't you glad you have such a beautiful girl who is eager to learn how to cook for you? Asa teased, moving to his side. Lucky. She smacked his shoulder a couple times. God, what are you trying to do? Beat the whisker off of me. He groaned. His green-haired friend just giggled as he rolled his now sore shoulder. Now why would I do that? She grabbed one of his cheeks. You look so cute with them. She pestered in a cute voice as she pinched and pulled his cheek. Let go, he demanded. When she obeyed, he made his way to rub his cheek. We should really get going. Bye, Naru-chan. Asa waved as she and Kerha both walked away with Kaide trailing behind them. Kaide stopped in her tracks to turn and face her favorite blonde. I promise to make you a big pot of ramen, when I come home. She then ran off before Naruto could say anything. With a sigh, Naruto flung his handbag over his shoulder and made his way towards the upperclassmen building to pay someone a visit. Positive a certain upperclassman was taught to keep his mouth shut, he ventured to the grocery store to pick up a snack. 10 instant cups should be good, he decided aloud, placing the 10th cup of instant ramen in his handcart. I should get something to wash it down with, maybe some juice or soda will be good. Making his way over towards the beverages, he saw a red-headed girl with short pointy ears pondering what kind of meat to buy. As he walked by her, he could hear her saying something about the cost of the meat and how she could save money buying the bigger one, or how she could get more if she bought 2 smaller ones. Just as he passed her, she turned and asked him something. Excuse me, I need help, she called, holding up 2 the different packages of meat. Sure, how can I help? Naruto replied, not sure if he could. Thanks. You see, I'm cooking for someone who eats a lot, but I'm not sure which one of these to buy, she filled in as she looked between the packages of meat in her hand. Should I buy 2 of these medium ones or just buy the larger one? My head hurts just thinking about it. Naruto didn't know what to think, but he did know one thing. If she was cooking for someone who eats a lot like him, it was always the best choice to buy the most food. Since you are cooking for someone who eats a lot, you should get 2 to the medium ones, he offered. The god nodded and grabbed another medium package, placing the larger one back. Thanks so much, you really helped. I would love to stay and talk, but the drugstore has a sale on toilet paper that I can't miss. She blushed as he gave her a foxy smile. No problem, I'm just glad I could help, Naruto told her. She smiled back. I guess I'll see you later, then, Naruto-kun. She then ran off, leaving Naruto to his thoughts. Who was she? Shrugging it off, he made his way to grab his beverage, pay for his things, and head home. Naruto decided to take a shortcut home. On the way was a small park, where he heard one of the most beautiful voices ever to reach his ears. Searching for the source of the melody, he spotted a beautiful young girl about his age sitting on one of the swings. She had light purple hair, tied in a ponytail with ribbon, and long pointy ears. Leaning against a park wall, he absorbed a breathtaking tune. Once she finished, he clapped out of reflex. Startled, The girl stood and turned to the direction of the clapping. Her gaze soon landed on a boy with unruly, spiky blonde hair and azure-colored eyes. 3 whiskers marked each of his cheeks. Me. Entali noted how cute he was in a school uniform. Were you listening this whole time? She queried, slightly self-conscious. Sorry, I didn't mean to, but I couldn't help it. Once I heard you singing. I just had to stop to listen. I must say, you have a beautiful voice, he complimented. I'm not that good, but it's nice of you to say that. There are much better singers than I am, she pointed out modestly. He couldn't believe that she would say something like that. Are you kidding me? You have an amazing voice, and I would love to hear you sing, again. She smiled brightly. Thank you, Naruto-sama. Who knows, if keep your ears open, you might hear my voice again. The evening siren could be heard off in the distance. The young girl checked her watch. It's late, already, if I don't get home soon. My Oto-san is going to punish me, she reported. I wouldn't want that to happen, he chuckled. I'm glad we were able to talk with one another. She politely bowed to him and left Naruto by himself. Wow, I was able to meet 2 beautiful girls today. I must be lucky, he thought as he headed home. Naruto was finishing his last cup of instant ramen when it finally dawned on him. How did they know my name? He asked himself, not remembering telling either one of the girls his name. And yet, somehow they knew. That thought was short-lived when he heard the front door open. He had a feeling something bad was going to happen. Uzumaki Tsuchimi Naruto, where are you? Kaide exclaimed. Yes, something bad indeed. She left out the kun suffix, and she only did that when she was upset with him. Swallowing the food in his mouth he replied, I'm in the kitchen. Suddenly, the door to the kitchen opened, revealing a very upset Kaide. She walked in the kitchen and stopped just in front of him. Her arms crossed over her chest. Would you please explain why I saw an upperclassman hung up on the flagpole by his pants? She asked, tapping her foot impatiently. First of all, how do you know it was me? He retorted, knowing what he'd done. I don't know, maybe because he told me after Asa and I got him down, she answered. Her expression dulled. Naruto-kun, you promised you wouldn't do anything like that. No, I promised not to get into any fights. All we did was have a friendly chat, and then I tied him up to the flagpole as a warning, Naruto countered in a matter-of-fact tone. Naruto-kun, that's not the point. If it wasn't for Asa and I talking the student out of tattling, you would have been expelled. She lectured. Her worried tone told him he was pushing it when he tied up the upperclassman up. He didn't intend to worry Kaide so much, but he should have known doing what he did would. Sighing for the 3rd time that day, he placed both hands on her shoulders. I'm sorry, Kaide, I didn't mean for you to get so worried, he told her honestly. That's good to hear, but for punishment you can forget about the ramen, she said sternly. Naruto looked at her, shocked. Don't give me that look, that's what you get for breaking a promise. Now, go think about what you've done while I make dinner, she instructed, pushing him out of the kitchen. You're still going to make me some ramen. Like you promised, right? Naruto received no response. Right, Kaide. Again, no. Answer. Kaide. Kaide. This time he did receive an answer, the door shutting in his face. Kaide. Let's just say Naruto didn't get the ramen he was promised. The next day at school, everyone was anxious to see the new transfer students. The boys were all sitting on the edge of their seats. Itsuki was literally shaking in excitement. Come on, could you get a grip, please? Mayumi asked Itsuki, knowing it wouldn't do any good. No, I can't. Making the first impressions is crucial. He stood up. Hey, you guys, are you ready? He shouted, causing a large crowd of boys to cheer. The teacher just shook her head, telling the students waiting in the hall to come in. Just as the door opened, every boy except Naruto stood up and cheered, some even shooting confetti. All right, here we go now. This is what I call a happening school. It seems to be a fun place after all, a man's voice called out. The males froze in shock. Wow, I think you're right. There are so many pretty young girls around. I'm beginning to feel like a young stud again, another man agreed. One man had gray, ear-length hair, brown eyes, and short pointy ears. He wore a Japanese-style GI outfit. The other had waist-length gray hair, red eyes, and long pointy ears. He dressed in a long-sleeved turtleneck shirt with gray pants. No way. These are the new transfer students. I guess Itsuki's nose was wrong, Naruto commented. Well, which kid is it? Is he here? The taller of the two men questioned, his eyes wandering. Ah, look, there he is. The other male pointed to Naruto. Every eye in the class watched as the two newcomers walked over to Naruto's desk. He's definitely not bad to look at. He would be perfect for my Sia. The taller one proclaimed as he eyed Naruto. Hey, not so fast there, Shin-chan. Naruto-chan so happens to be Narina-chan's fiancé, remember? The smaller one reminded. Hey, no fair, the taller man exclaimed, turning back towards Naruto. Naruto, take good care of my Sia for me, okay? Sure, Naruto replied in confusion. Hey, pal, listen up. My Sia has a cute body. So you better have the energy to. Out of nowhere, the girl Naruto saw at the grocery store threw a chair at him before he could finish his sentence. Oto-san, that's disgusting. Don't say things like that, Sia yelled, blushing with embarrassment. Sia, I've told you hitting people with chairs is going too far. Her father managed to say, despite the pain coursing through his body. Sia, don't you think that was a bit too harsh? The other girl Naruto met the day before asked. Wait, you two know each other? He queried, surprised to see both of them in his class. They burst into a fit of giggles. Eventually, everything calmed down and the four newcomers lined up in front of the class. So, why don't you introduce yourselves? Ms. Nadeshiko gave permission to proceed. My name is Lysianthus, and I'm from the world of the gods. Since my name is long, you can just call me Sia, she told the class with a smile. My name is Narina, and I'm from the world of the demons. I would love it if everyone would call me Rina. Narina spoke shyly. I'm Eustoma. I'm Sia's Oto-san and the king of the gods, Eustoma proclaimed proudly. And I'm Forbesi. I'm the king of the demons and Narina-chan's Oto-san. Forbesi introduced himself. I didn't mean you too, Ms. Nadeshiko muttered to herself. Sensei, did I hear them right? Did they say they were the kings of the gods and demons? Mayumi asked for the whole class. Yes, you heard right. Bear with me, I know it may be hard to believe, but these two are the kings of the gods and demons, Ms. Nadeshiko informed the class. Please, don't treat us different just because we are princesses, Sia urged. Yes, just treat us as if we were regular students, Narina requested. There you have it, the teacher stated. She looked over to Naruto. Uzumaki, it'll be your job to take care of these girls. What? Why the hell do I have to do it? Naruto tried to reason. I'll be happy to explain, if you like. Forbesi voiced, getting everyone's attention. You see, Naruto-chan, you have been chosen to be either Narina-chan's or Sia's husband, he informed. The whole class was in awe. What? Naruto exclaimed. The rest of the boys stare at him in disbelief. To put it plainly, you can choose to become king of the gods or king of the demons. If you chose my Sia, then all the power of the gods will be at your command, Eustoma stated. But, if you chose my Narina-chan, then all the power of the demons will at your disposal until your heart contents, Forbesi added with a smile. Both Sia and Narina laughed. I could either become king of the gods or king of the demons, Naruto thought to himself. How the hell did I get myself mixed up in this? Well, there you have it, my first chapter for this story. If you have any question, leave it in a review or PM me. His decision. Well, I have some good news. Not only did I post another chapter, but I decided to make this one of my permanent stories, so thank you for those who reviewed and faved or alerted this story. One review did ask if I was going to give Naruto any jutsu, and my answer is yes, but it won't be any flashy ones since there aren't any evil villains in this shuffle anime visual novel. In addition, to those of you who might be wondering about Rin, well, I replaced him with Naruto as it made it easier for me to write this story. Other than that, enjoy the second chapter. Disclaimer. I do not own Naruto or Shuffle, or anything I use from any anime, game, or movie. Chapter 2. His Decision, Primula, and the Mysterious Voice. You must be joking, right? Naruto said, dumbfounded by the idea that two beautiful girls from two different worlds by the way came to his school asking him to choose which of the two to marry. If he were dreaming, this would be a good time to wake up. No one in their right mind would do something like that, right? He asked himself. I'm afraid not, my boy. Yustoma told him, his arms still crossed over his chest. This is as real as night and day. He's right, Naruto-chan. I know it may be much to comprehend, but it's the truth. Both Narine-chan and Sia have been waiting a long time to come to this world just so they could see you. Forbesi added, then smiled. Since both our daughters were so fond of you, we decided to choose you to be their fiancé. But why me? What makes me so special? He asked, looking at the four of them. There are so many other boys in this school, know this whole world, so why chose me? We have our reasons, Sai said as she along with Narine both blushed. Well, there you have it. Yustoma said, walking over to Naruto's desk. Now tell me, which one do you chose? He asked, placing a hand on his desk, the other on the back of his chair. Come on, chose. Naruto stared blankly back, thinking. He has to be crazy giving him a life-changing proposition, and expected him to answer right away. Before he could say a word, Sia interrupted him. Otosan quit pressuring him, she told her father, who looked at her. But Sia, the faster he chooses, which I know will be you. He replied, sounding sure that Naruto would pick his daughter over Forbesi's. The faster we can start preparing the wedding. Preparations. Wedding preparations. Sia repeated what her father said, imagining what she and Naruto would look like at their wedding as a blush appeared on her face. As for Forbesi, he didn't. She liked what his friend said, thinking his Narine didn't have a shot being with Naruto. Now hold on there, Shin-chan. He said, getting his friend's attention. What makes you think my Narine-chan doesn't have a chance with being Naruto-chan's wife? Matter of fact, I believe she is an excellent choice for him. Not only does she have a gentle heart, but she has very big bosoms that I know Naruto-chan would love. He told him, getting a shocked look from Naruto, not to mention nosebleeds from most of the boys in class and surprisingly a few girls, while Narine blushed in embarrassment. Now it was Sia's turn to be embarrassed, but unlike Narine, she grabbed a chair out of nowhere and was about to whack her father with it if it were for Naruto, who stood up from his seat. Enough, he exclaimed, getting everyone's attention. You two are supposed to be the kings of the gods and demons. Well, act like them instead of embarrassing you daughters. I've seen 5-year-olds who act more mature than the two of you. Naruto told the two so-called kings, who stared at him in disbelief that someone other than their daughters told them what to do, a mere human at that. Naruto could tell that what he said didn't sit well with the two of them, as their faces dropped all trace of their go-lucky attitude. You know, kid, it takes a lot of balls to tell not just one but two kings what you just said. Yustoma said, narrowing his eyes dangerously at Naruto. He's right, not even our own people dare to tell us what to do without our permission. Forbesi added as he did the same as his friend. And the fact that you, a mere human who we could kill with a flick of our wrist, are the one telling us to do so. Naruto could feel the tension in the air, as did everyone else in the class. You could almost cut it. So what if I am? Naruto said as he walked over towards them. I could care less if the two of you were kings, because to me you're nothing but a god and a demon, as titles mean nothing. He added as he narrowed his eyes at the two kings, who were a couple inches taller, and he was well aware that they could most likely kill him in the blink of an eye. However, it wasn't going to stop him from standing up to them. As he was brought to this world, there was always something deep down inside him that always told him to never back down, which he never did, and he was sure as hell not going to start today. He stood there staring at the two kings as they did the same. The whole class was in shock after they heard what Naruto said, and were now worried for their blonde-haired classmate. Most of the boys would love to see Naruto be punished for having not only Kaede but also two princesses fall in love with him, but killing him was too much. As for Sia, Narine and Kaede, they were beyond worried. They were terrified. The thought of their crush being killed never once crossed neither one of their minds, and now they were about to see it firsthand. What happened next made the class stare in confusion, because the two kings started laughing. Now I can see why my Sia fell in love with you, Yustoma said, placing a hand on Naruto's shoulder. As do I, showing us that you would stand up to us for our daughter's sake proves why we selected you as a candidate. Forbessi added, chuckling as he thought of what else Naruto had in store for them as the said man mentally sighed. Whilst that was going on, Ms. Nad Eshiko was worried for her student and was glad he wasn't killed especially in the middle of her class, but now she had only one thing on her mind, her job. Now that this whole ordeal is over, I would like for the two of you to leave. She told both Yustoma and Forbessi, who looked back at her. Leave? I would never. I'd like to see what else Naruto will show us, so I think I'll stay. Yustoma replied, folding his arms back over his chest. I would agree, Naruto-chan is becoming quite the person and I would love nothing more than to see what else he has to offer. Forbessi agreed with his longtime fry. And, well, besides him marring my Narine-chan, of course. He added, making Yustoma look at him. Dream on, my friend, I've told you Naruto is going to pick my Sia. He told him, ignoring what Ms. Nadeshiko asked. Otosan, I think you should listen to the teacher. Sia pleaded as she could tell Ms. Nadeshiko was getting angrier by the second. Yes, Otosan, I think you should listen to the teacher as well. Narine told her father. Nonsense, Narine-chan, I'm sure your teacher wouldn't mind if we stayed. It would be an honor to have both kings in her class for the day, am I right? Her father told her why. LST asking her teacher if they could stay. No, it would be wise if you left, so that way I can do my job teaching not only my students but your daughters as well, and having you here will only be a distraction. She gritted through her teeth, her hands shook as she tried hard to hold back her anger. I promise we won't be a bother, we'll stand in the back, it'll be like we aren't even here. He said, Tr. Ying to reason with her, but all it did was make her angrier. Come on Toots, it's not like we're taking over, we just want to observe, that's all. Yustoma added, but was soon going to regret ever doing so. Toots, I'm not sure if I should take that as a compliment or bash his face in. Ms. Nadeshiko thought to herself as her eyebrows twitched. I'm going to ask you nicely one more time to please leave. If I were you guys, I would do as she says. Naruto whispered to them. You do not want to see Ms. Nadeshiko angry, trust me, she'll scare the living hell out of you. He added, knowing firsthand how scary she can be. What are you talking about? There is no woman in the world who can scare the king of the gods. Yustoma boasted. Yes. There are far scarier thing in the world of the demons, so I think we can handle your teacher wrath. Forbessi said, but they were both wrong when the said teacher blew her top. I said leave. Ms. Nadeshiko exclaimed, glaring at the two kings, letting the whole school know how pissed she was, causing her class to all flinch and the said king's eyes to shrink to the size of dots. Yes ma'am. Both them said in unison, then turned around and made their way out of the classroom, but not before telling Naruto that they would meet him after school. After they left, the class settled down while Ms. Nadeshiko took some time to calm down. All right class, now that the root of my migraine problem is gone, I can begin class, she said, then looked at both Sia and Narine. You two can take the empty seats in the back if you don't mind. Getting nods from them, they made their way towards their seats. And she began to start teaching her students. Finally the last bell rang, letting students know the day was done. As for Naruto, it only meant more problems on top of the ones he already has. Standing from his seat, he made his way towards the class door until Kaide stopped him. Naruto-kun, where are you going? She asked, as she was worried for him, especially after what happened this morning. Turning to face his childhood friend, he noticed that both Sia and Narine along with Itsuki and Mayumi were standing right behind her. I'm just going to the rooftop to clear my head, he told them, not really wanting to talk. But what about Otosan's? Sia asked, knowing that both she and Narine's father would most likely be here to see him again. Just tell them I left. Or something, I don't know, I just need some time alone, he told her, then left, leaving them to wonder if he'll be alright. I don't think Naruto-kun is taking the whole marriage ordeal so great, Kaide said as she turned around. I don't blame him, Itsuki replied, pushing his glasses in place. It's not every day you get asked to marry a princess from another world, and in his case too. Yeah, and to have their Otosans pressure him into choosing which one right of the bat, Mayumi said, getting the two new girls to put their heads down. We knew our Otosans would do something like this, but we were so excited to see Naruto-kun that it slipped our minds. Sia told them, feeling responsible for what happened. We're sorry. Narine apologized, keeping her head down. There's no reason for you laddie to apologize, I'm sure it couldn't be helped. Itsuki said, trying to cheer them up. Besides, I'm sure Naruto will be fine. He added as he smiled, which seemed to work as both Sia and Narine had a small smile on their faces. I think I'll go check and see if he's alright, Kaide said, making her way out the door only for Itsuki to stop her. She looked back to see Itsuki with a serious look on his face as she shook his head. Kaide, you know as well as I do that whenever Naruto is in the mood he's in now, it's best to leave him be. He told her, leaving out the chan suffix. She understood what he meant, but still she never liked seeing Naruto like that. It reminds her too much of that day. Giving Itsuki a nod telling him she understood, she made her way back to her desk to get hers and Naruto's stuff, and wait for him at home. Narine and Sia did the same while Itsuki turned and stared out the window. I just hope there are no new fan clubs popping up to take out Naruto, he thought to himself as he went to retrieve his things. If so, I feel sorry for them. Naruto was leaning on the railing that was on the roof, trying to process all the information he learned from both Sia's and Narine's father, and it all came down to one question. Why me? He asked himself. I never did anything good to deserve this. My whole life nothing but bad things happened to me. Is this karma's way of making things up? He then looked up at the sky. Then this is a bad way of doing it. All it will do is give me more fanboys' asses to kick. Sighing as he pushed himself off the railing, knowing it was the truth that all this will bring is more fanboys saying they show their dying love to whichever girl by either kicking his ass or killing him. In the end it's their asses that are stomped on, which is a good stress reliever, by the way. As if he'd jinxed himself or karma was out to get him, the door to the rooftop opened as 3 groups of people came rushing out, standing a couple feet away from him. All right, Uzumaki-tem. I'm Haruki Hanai from the Kido Kido Kaide-chan. A person in glasses exclaimed, wearing a karate uniform. I'm Kenji Harima and I'm from the Suki Suki Sia-chan aka the SSS. A tall tan man with shades said. And I'm Kyusuke Midori and I'm from the Ran Ran Rin-chan or the RRR. A spiky blonde-haired perverted-looking boy said. Just as I thought, more fanboys. He thought to himself as he looked at the others behind, the ones who introduced themselves. Let me guess, you're here to confess you dying love by eliminating me? He asked, clearly knowing the answer. You got that right, Blondie. The man with the shades yelled. You know, I hoped you guys would show up. Naruto said, cracking his knuckles. Cause I've been stressing out lately today. That's kind of related to isn't I couldn't think of any better way of relieving it by bashing you faces in. He told them as he got into fighting stance, then putting his hand out, waving them to come at him. All right men, get him. The one called Hana yelled, then they all ran towards Naruto. Get ready for a beating of a lifetime, Uzumaki-tem. The tall tan man called Harima exclaimed, as he was the first to reach him. Naruto waited for him to throw the first punch, which he did, and quickly swatted it away and punched him square in the face, breaking his shades, knocking him out cold in the process. The man flew back, talking a couple others with him. Not wasting any time, Naruto turned to search for the other 2 who introduced themselves. Finding his targets, he quickly made his way towards them, taking out anybody who got in his by either punching them in the face or in the gut. He reached the one called Hanai, who threw a punch aimed for his face that he ducked under, which was the 4 Eyes' biggest mistake, because Naruto did and Shoryuken like uppercut minus the fire. He was glad that playing all those fighting games like Street Fighter on free time was paying off. As he landed, he decided to try another move similar to that game. As he moved closer to the other spiky-haired person on the roof, he jumped, doing a spin-like kick that was similar to the Tatsumaki, kicking the man in the face, sending him flying a good couple of feet. Landing back on his feet, he looked to see about 20 or so people left standing who weren't sure if they should attack, but thinking if they attack all at once they could take him. It was a good plan if it were anybody else they were fight, but Naruto was known to be unpredictable and would soon found that out the hard way, because this time Naruto was the one to make the first move. Quickly he scanned the group as he dashed towards them and found the ones who looked the weakest, taking them out first. Soon as he did, he quickly turned around and blocked a punch with his foray. RMS then grabbed the person's arm, pulling him close enough to headbutt him. Next, he dodged another punch to his face by sliding off to the left, then grabbing that person's shirt and pulled him down. Kneeing him in the gut, then let him drop towards the ground. After knocking another person out, he noticed that there was only one person left standing that was shaking, seeing, as he was the last one. The two just stared at each the other until the man dropped to his knees. Please don't hurt me, the men pled, not wanting to feel the wrath of future king of the gods or demons. I didn't even want to come up, my friend made me. So please spare me, he asked, placing his forehead on the ground. Naruto found it pathetic for him to be begging to spare him, but if he didn't have what it took to fight him, he did the obvious choice and let him go. Go on, get out of here, he told him as the man stood back up. Oh, thank you, the man said as he ran off, passing a green-haired girl on the way towards the door. Asa-senpai, how long have you been there? Naruto asked, now noticing she was there. Since the whole beating of the lifetime part, she told him, mimicking the man who said it. So the whole time, he replied dryly. Pretty much, she giggled. By the way, those were some fancy moves back there, where'd you learn them? She asked as they looked familiar. Street Fighter, he answered with smirk on his face. Should have known, she said, rolling her eyes, making Naruto chuckle. Who would have guessed fighting games would be so educational? She added sarcastically. Well, if you pay attention then yeah they are, he told her, making her shake her head. She then looked at the people who were either knocked out or groaning in pain. I wonder, she said, getting Naruto's attention. Wonder what? He asked, but she didn't answer because she was busy counting the people with her finger. Yep, I thought so, she said, sounding a bit happy. Thought what? He asked again, not understanding what she was doing. It's a new record, she told him, getting a confused look from him, then asked, what part of new record? You don't understand the new or the record. What the hell are you talking about? He asked her once again, getting impatient because he had no clue to what she was trying saying and it was pissing him off. You're telling me you don't know? She asked, completely dumbfounded that the one person she thought knew didn't know. What? Damn it, he exclaimed, thinking she was lucky she's girl or he would have socked her. Just tell me what this damn new record is. It's how many people you beat up in a row, you dope. She informed him as he stared at her in disbelief. Honestly, I thought you knew since it's your record, she said as he shook his head, then walked past her. Hey, wait for me, she then ran after him. After she caught up to him, he asked, so what was the old record? 50, she replied as they walked down the stairs. And the new one? 58, she answered, seeing him nod in approval. I still can't believe you didn't know, she said, then began to laugh. What's so funny? He asked, but she just kept laughing. It was you face, she said between laughs. You looked so mad when you didn't know. She then laughed harder, making Naruto speed up as he walked down the stair towards his class floor. Hey, don't leave me behind, I'm sorry for laughing, but it was priceless, she called out to him as she tried to catch up. Just as they reached the floor where class 2B was on, they were about to turn the corner where they were greeted by none other than Naruto's teacher, Ms. Natashiko. You know Uzumaki, she said, getting his attention. That stunt you pulled on the roof can get you expelled. Come on, Ms. Natashiko, it wasn't his fault. Asa pleaded for him. I'm sorry, but there is a no fighting on school grounds policy in this school, she informed them, but before Asa could reply, Naruto placed a hand on her shoulder. It's no use, Asa-senpai, if a teacher knows then there's no use arguing no matter what the circumstances are, Naruto told her, knowing there was no way out of this. However, Ms. Natashiko began getting both students' attention. Luck for you I didn't see nor hear anything, she said with a smirk on her face, getting a fox grin from Naruto that made her blush a bit. You know, Ms. Natashiko, not only are you smart and sexy, he stated, getting hers and Asa's eyes to widen as she blushed up a storm, but you're fucking awesome. If it were any other teacher I would have been expelled, no questions asked, he told her, who was too much in shock to reply. If I hear anyone, I mean anyone, say you're a lame teacher, I'll kick their ass for you, he added as she grabbed Asa's arm and dragged her with him as he left. Why yeah, you do that, Ms. Natashiko said, not realizing that she was talking to herself. After coming back to her senses, she could still feel how hot her face was. I can't believe he said that to me, she thought to herself, and strangely, she found it quite appealing. He thought she was attractive. Then an image of Naruto with his shirt off when she made him run 200 laps on the track field popped into her head. How his sweat rolled down his tone-tanned abs, and how it took all her strength not to pounce the boy right then and there, but as quickly as that thought appeared she pushed it away. Thoughts like that will get me fired, she said as she made her way back to the teacher lounge. But still, as for Naruto and Asa, they reached his classroom and walked in. He noticed his Tough wasn't there and figured Kaide must have taken it home for him, so he turned to Asa and noticed she was still out of it. Hey Earth to Asa senpai, Naruto said, trying to get her attention. She then snapped out of it, realized she was in Naruto's classroom, and then remembered what he said. Naruto, do you realize what you said? She asked, as she still couldn't believe he said something like that. I know full well what I said and meant every word, he honestly told her. But she's like what, twice your age? She yelled, sounding a bit jealous of his teacher. So what, age has nothing to do with it, he replied, then understood why she was acting this way. Are you jealous? He asked, seeing her face heat up. You are, aren't you? You're jealous because I never noticed or said anything like that to you. And no, I'm not, she stuttered, then hid her face from his view. Besides, why would I be jealous? I don't even like you like that. We're just friends, remember? Whatever helps you sleep at night, he told her, making her tense up as she used that same line on him the day before. Shut up, she yelled as she stormed out of the classroom, with Naruto laughing this time. Ah, come on Asa senpai. Naruto laughed as he chased after her. I was only joking. Eventually Naruto caught up to her and they both went to their lockers, and were now standing outside in front of the school. Quote, Asa senpai. Naruto began getting his green-haired friend's attention. What were you doing on the roof earlier? He asked, wanting to know why she was there. Oh, that you see, she then trailed off, as a faint blush appeared on her face. I heard about the whole marry my daughter ordeal. Well, the whole school heard, so I thought you might be on the roof, as it's one of the places you go in school when you need some time to think. She informed him with a small smile. Now he understood why the two other fan groups formed so fast. The whole damn school knows, and he knew it was going to make school that much harder from here on out. That also meant that he had to be careful not to get into any more fights, not on school property anyway, but still he was lucky Ms. Nadeshiko was the one who caught him. So you were worried about me? He told her, who hid her face. Of course I was worried, she replied, hiding her blush from him. We're friends, aren't we? Yeah, friends, he repeated, then smiled, knowing she always thought of him as something more. And since we're friends, you won't mind if I talk to you about something? He asked, emphasizing the word friends, getting her to look at him. About what? She asked, but Naruto just motioned her to follow him, so she did. Kaide was at home doing what she usually does, cleaning. At that moment she was in Naruto's room vacuuming his floor. Once she was finished, she shut it off and looked around. She noticed on his desk was a big block of wood, which some of it looked like it was being caved out, and made her wonder what he was going to make. Pondering on that thought, her head wandered towards his clock and noticed it was getting late and she hasn't even started dinner yet. She then picked up the vacuum in a hurry and made her way downstairs. To put it away. Once that was done, she walked into the kitchen and washed her hands while to think what she should make for dinner. With her mind made up, she started to grab all the ingredients she need and began to go to work, then thought about make him some ramen, knowing she didn't make him any the other day. The sad look he had on his face when he came to eat dinner, knowing there wasn't going to be any ramen, almost made her want to cry, but knew it was the only way he would learn. Time flew as she finished prepping the food and was about to start cooking when she heard the doorbell ring. Wiping her hand on her apron, she made her way to the front door and was surprised by what she saw. There stood both Sia and Narine along with their fathers. Hi Kaide. Sia greeted her with a smile. We were wondering if Naruto-kun was home. She asked. Yes, I would like to get to know my future son-in-law some more, Yustoma said, making his daughter blush in embarrassment. Now Shin-chan, we've been over this many times now, Forbesi said, getting the god's attention. Naruto-chan is Narine-chan's fiancé, so in turn he would be my son-in-law, he corrected his tall tan friend. Ma Bo, why, you know it's not official until he puts the ring on her finger, it's the human's tradition, he told him, but before Forbesi could reply, Kaide interrupted him. Sorry to interrupt, but Naruto-kun isn't here, she informed them, getting them to stop and look at her. I don't know where he is right now, but you're more than welcome to stay here and wait for him. I was just about to start making dinner, she told them, getting Sia's attention. You're making dinner for Naruto-kun. Please can I help? Please. Sia begged Kaide to let her help while cupping her hands together. Sure. Kaide agreed to Sia delight. It'll help make thing go quicker as Naruto-kun can eat a lot. She told her, I know what you mean. Sia sympathized with her, as her father was the same, which gave her and Kaide thing in common. They both cook for someone who can eat a lot. Letting them in and showing them to the living room where they could relax and watch some TV while both Kaide and Sia went into the kitchen. Noreen asked if she could watch, which they agreed, so that left the two kings to talk amongst themselves. So ma boy, you think the little misses and Naruto are an item? He asked his friends, as he wasn't sure if Naruto was with anybody. I don't know and would like to find out myself. He replied as a devilish grin tugged at his lips. And I have the perfect plan to get him to talk. He added, as he magically pulled out a huge bottle of champagne. Great minds think alike. The king of the gods replied as he took out couple bottles of sake and several other alcohol beverages from his sleeve. As the two stated to chuckle evilly to themselves, Kaide and the others have already started making dinner. So what's the pot for Kaide? Sai asked her, as what they were going to make didn't require any pots. Oh, this is for Naruto-kun's ramen. She answered her, sounding a bit happy. Ramen. Sia repeated, not understanding why she would make ramen of all things. Why would you make ramen for Naruto-kun? She asked, as it wouldn't go with the food they're making now. Well, that's because it's Naruto-kun's favorite. She replied. It is. Sia said, surprised that something as simple as ramen is her crush's favorite food. But why ramen? She asked, hoping to get some info on Naruto, as did Noreen, who was listening more closely now. To be honest, I don't know why it's his favorite. Kaide too. Them getting disappointed looks from them. But what I do know, she began, making the two perk up, is that no matter how down he is, ramen seems to be the only thing to cheer him up. She told them. They were a bit surprised to find out that ramen of all foods was able to do that for him, but lead them to wonder why. As Kaide was getting the pot ready for the noodles, she thought about the one thing she didn't tell the two. Even though ramen is special to him, not even it can cheer him up when that day comes. She thought to herself. Naruto had lead Asa to one of the nearby kids' park. The T.O.N. city has to her confusion as to why he wanted to talk in a park but didn't ask why, and just followed him as he sat on one of the many swings. Sitting on the swing next to him, she slowly pushed CK with her feet as she stared at the ground, waiting for her friend to explain why he wanted to talk. Her head then drifted from looking from the ground towards her blonde-haired, whiskered friend's face. And found it to be relaxed and so calm. Like he was at peace with himself, not like earlier when he was on the roof. But before she could ask, Naruto asked her something. Asa, tell me, what do you think of this park? He asked her as he looked up at the orange-color sky. What do you mean? She asked, not understanding his question. Okay, let me rephrase it. What does it mean to you? He asked again. I don't know, a place where you can bring kids to play. She said, not really sure why he asking her this suddenly. No, that's more like what you would do at a park. What I want to know is what you feel when you come here, like are you happy or sad? Something like that, he told her as he looked around. I don't feel anything like that, to me it's just a park, nothing more. She said, looking around, seeing that the park was empty. Most people would, he replied, getting humph from her. Well, excuse me for being most people, she said sarcastically. I didn't mean it like that, it's just to me this place makes me feel safe, secure. Like my own safe haven. He began, getting her to stare at him as it was the first time she heard him talk about himself. You see, as a kid I never had a normal childhood, nor did I have any parents, so I always felt alone, but when I'm at the park I feel safe and there was always kids around, so I was never alone. Well, until their parents came to pick them up, that is. Other than that, it was where I could be a regular kid. He finished telling her, smiling the whole time. As for Asa, she was surprised that a simple park could mean so much to him. He was truly an enigma. Which was one of the reasons she fell in love with him, not that he know. Well, she hoped he didn't, as it would make things more difficult with them and everything else he deals with at school. But something told her he knew, and with her always blushing around him didn't help hide the fact she did. Then the question to why Naruto brought her here came back up. Was it so he could ask her what The park meant to her, or was it something else? Naruto, what did you want to talk about? Was it what the park meant, or was it something else? She asked him as he realized what he was doing. No, it wasn't about that, it just I open up more when I'm at the park than any other place, sorry. He apologized as she took a mental note. Anyway, what I want to talk to you about is what I should do about this whole marriage thing. What teenager thinks about getting married at the age of 16? He asked her, who was quite surprised he would ask something like this to her of all people. So, what do you think I should do? I can't just tell them. There's no way that I can marry them and break their hearts, especially two beautiful girls like that. It's just not in me. Asa didn't know what to say. Naruto was the kind of man who would never break a girl's heart even if it killed him, but if he didn't tell them something it will end up hurting them and him. She was in a dilemma, as she too liked Naruto, and to have him with someone else would hurt her too, and if he were to get married then there goes her chance to be with him. Therefore, she came up with an answer. Why don't you just tell you won't marry them, she began, but Naruto cut her off. If I do that then it will break their hearts, and you know I can't do that, he exclaimed as he jumped off the swing, turning towards her. I know, numbskull, so let me finish, she said, then began to finish what she was going to say. As I was saying, just tell them you won't marry them until you get to know them better, that way it will make your choice that much easier. She told him, making him smack his forehead. Why didn't I think of that? He said to himself as Asa shook her head. I was so worried about hurting them that I totally overthought the situation. He then placed both his hands on her shoulders. Thanks, Asa-senpai, you know if weren't just friends I'd kiss you right now. He told her, making her blush. Anyway, I should get going. I'm sure Kaide is worrying about me, so I'll see you tomorrow, and thanks again. He then ran off, leaving Asa to herself in the park as she watched him disappear off into the distance as she thought about what he said. You know, I think he does know I like him and said that just to torture me, she said to herself as she made her way home, but not before she thought about what she said to him. I only told him to say that, so it would give me more time to get with him, she thought as she was walking out of the park. As that being selfish, pushing her thoughts aside, she hurried home. She wouldn't worry her mother much like Naruto does to Kaide. Naruto was about a quarter of the way home when he saw a young girl with light gray hair tied in two pigtails that hung down to her street, with two chin-length bangs that framed her face, purple eyes and small pointy ears. She also wore a long-sleeved turtleneck shirt similar to Forbesi's, a white short skirt, black thigh-length stocking and black shoes. From his point of view she looked lost and was carrying what looked like a beat-up cat doll. Naruto, being the nice guy, walked over to see if he could help her. Hey, are you lost, little girl? He called out as he made his way over to her. She looked at him and he could see such an empty, sad look on her eyes, as if she lost something very important to her. He should know because he had to have that same look when he was a kid. Getting a better look at her, he could see how dirty her clothes and hair were. She even had a couple of smudges on her face. It made him wonder what she's been doing, but he could find that out later. Right now he had to take her home to her parents. So are you lost? He asked, only for her to shake her head. If not, then why are you out by yourself and covered in dirt? I was looking for someone, she told him, but didn't explain why she was dirty. Well then maybe I can help you. So who is it that you're looking for? Maybe I might know who it is. He asked, only for her to latch onto him. I was looking for you, Naruto, she said, rubbing her face into his chest. I finally found you. Naruto was a bit in shock that this girl was not only looking for him but also knew his name. He tried to get her to let go, but when he did, she would tighten her grip on him, so he just let her have her way and decided to ask her how he knew him. How do you know who I am, and why were you looking for me? He asked, getting her to look up at him, her arms still latched to him. From Lyko. She began to say someone's name but stopped for some reason. From Narine. She told him, getting a surprised look from him. So you know Narine? He asked, getting a nod from the young girl, forgetting that she didn't tell him why she was looking for him. Well, I don't know where she lives, but she does go to my school, so I can ask her to come get you. He told her, only for her to shake her head. I don't want to go back, she said with a tone Naruto understood, could tell she was determined to stay. He didn't know what to do. He couldn't just leave her here, as if he had to chose the way she was latched to him it wouldn't be possible, so he came to one conclusion. Alright Hen, how about you come and stay with me so I know you somewhere safe? He asked, getting a nod from her. With that settled, Naruto started to walk home with the young girl still holding on to him now. All he had to do was explain the situation to Kaide and hopeful she would understand. By the time he made it home, it was just about nightfall. As the sun was setting, opening the front door, he could hear some commotion coming from the living room. He figured some of his friends must have come over, or the two new girls, so he made his way over towards the living room door and opened it. Seeing Kaide, along with Sia and Narine, setting the table with food as the two girls' fathers getting their hands slapped for trying to pick at the said food. With the sound of the door opening, everyone looked to say, Naruto walking with someone hiding behind him. Ah, Naruto-chan, you finally made your way home, and who's that adorable thing behind you? Forbesi said as he walked closer to him. Just then, the young girl showed herself, getting shocked looks from Forbesi, Narine, and Sia, while Yustoma slightly glared at the girl. Primula. Forbesi said, shocked to see her here. Primula, Naruto thought as he looked down at her. So that must be her name. How did you get here? Forbesi asked her. She said she was looking for me, and since she knows Narine, I thought she could stay here till I told you guys about her, so I brought her here. He told them as Narine walked up to them. Rimyu-chan, why did you want to see Naruto-sama? She asked. I heard so much about him, so I wanted to see him. Primula told her. But why? Narine asked. You see, Primula is from the world of the demons. She must have left without permission. Narine's father informed him. So anybody can do that? Naruto asked. As he I didn't know how one was able to pass from one world to another. Well, no, but Primula is different. He told him, but it only seemed to confuse him. Different how? Naruto asked, but knew they probably won't tell him. Sorry, but that's classified, Yustoma voiced as he walked up, his arms crossed over his chest. And as why we're going to have to send her back. Hearing that she was going to be sent back, Primula tightened her grip on Naruto's shirt, showing him that she really didn't want to go back. Before any of the kings could do anything, Naruto spoke on her behalf. Now hold on. Naruto began getting their attention. I don't see the harm in letting her stay. She did, after all, come all the way from the world of the demons just to see me. He then placed a hand on her head. So I say let her stay. But Naruto-chan, Primula isn't just any ordinary child. Forbesi told him. Yes, she is far more dangerous than she seems. Yustoma added. However, Naruto didn't seem to buy it or comprehend how a cute girl like her could be as dangerous as they say. Besides, the look she had when her found her told him she was probably miserable in the world of the demons, and that staying here might be able to cheer her up. I don't see how she's so dangerous, but I'll take full responsibility to the fullest if anything should happen, even if it means death. He told the two of them. They could hear nothing but the truth leave Naruto's mouth, and was surprised he would say something like that for a girl he didn't even know. Well, ma boy, what do you say? He asked his friend, who was staring at Primula, then looked at Naruto. Well, if Naruto-chan's fine with it and is willing to take full responsibility, then I'm all for it. Forbesi said with a smile, getting one from Naruto as well. However, this isn't really my house, so it's really up to Kaide, since I'm a guest here too. He said, rubbing the back of his head sheepishly, making the two kings' sweat drop. Everyone then turned towards Kaide, putting her on the spot, which she just smiled and said, if Naruto-kun is fine with it, then so am I. Well, there you have it, Naruto said as he looked down at Primula. Welcome to the family, Primula. He told her as everyone smiled and cheered. All right then, this calls for a celebration, Yustoma exclaimed as he took out the bottles of alcohol that he somehow kept in his sleeves, getting a tick mark to appear on his daughter's head. I most happily agree, Forbesi said as he too brought out the champagne that he was somehow hiding, just as Sia grabbed a chair by its legs and was about to smack her father with it until Naruto said something. However, before we do, I'd like to say something, he said, getting their attention and halting Sia in mid-swing. I'd like to tell all of you on my decision on the behalf of marrying your daughters. The mention of marrying your daughters got the two kings' full attention as Sia lowered the chair in her hands and Narine to focus on his next words. This is what we were waiting for, Yustoma exclaimed. Go on then, tell us which one you choose. I choose He began seeing them all wait with anticipation. His eyes then drifted to Kaide's, seeing a surprised look on her face, then back towards the kings. Neither of them. He informed them, getting the two kings and all three girls' eyes to widen as Sia dropped the chair in her hands. Being rejected by the man they loved was enough to bring tears to the two princesses' eyes as their fathers looked at Naruto with shocked eyes. But, why is it that you don't like them? Fanboy asked. Or is there someone else? Yustoma added, looking at Kaide from the corner of his eyes. No, it's not like that. I mean, who couldn't fall in love with them? They're beautiful. It's just I never really thought of getting married yet, and I'm not sure if I want to. He told them as he looked at both Sia and Narine, seeing tears in their eyes that almost broke his heart, then looked back to their fathers. Until then, I would like to get to know them, besides them being princesses, and who knows, I might just end up pick one of them. He added with one of his foxy grins, getting the two girls to perk up as Yustoma and Fanboy looked at Naruto, trying to figure out what kind of man he really was. You just full of surprises, aren't you, Naruto? Yustoma said. Well, I have been known to be unpredictable. He informed him. Well then, how about we drink to the hopes you pick my Sia? He asked Naruto while Sia picked up the chair she dropped. Otosan quite trying to corrupt Naruto-kun. She exclaimed and was about to hit her father, but Naruto once again stopped her by saying something unexpected. Sure, I'd love to. He told the King of Gods, to everyone surprised minus Kaide, who was worried, and not for Naruto's sake either. Naruto-kun, you shouldn't. She pleaded him not to drink, but he stopped her by raising his hand. Don't worry Kaide, I'll be fine, besides they're going to have to learn the hard way. He told her, grinning evilly, making her worry even more. It's not you I'm worried about, she whispered to herself as she watched Naruto take a swig from a sake bottle that Yustoma gave him. Sia and Narine saw the worried look on her face and went to find out why she was worried about Naruto drinking even if he's underage. Kaide, Sia called her, getting the said woman to look at her. Is something wrong? She asked, getting Kaide to shake her head. No, it's just I'm worried about you Otosans. She told the two, getting confused looks from the two. If you worried about them getting drunk, don't be, they do it all the time. She said, smiling at her. Yeah, I'm more worried about Naruto-sama than her Otosans. Narine added as she looked to see the three drinking a couple glasses of champagne. Those two can drink God knows how much alcohol. I'm more afraid if Naruto-sama keeps this up, he'll be the one drunk, as I think they are doing it on purpose. But that's the thing, Naruto-kun can't get drunk. She told them, making them look at her weird. Or at least I don't think he can. She added, making them more confused than before. What makes you say that? Sia asked as Kaide sighed. Well, you see, my Otosan is one of those people who can hold his liquor, and when me and Naruto-kun entered junior high, he challenged my Otosan to a drinking game. He was skeptical at first but accepted his challenge. In the end, my Otosan was passed out drunk while Naruto-kun was still sober. She told them, which they were skeptical, but they saw how unpredictable he was, so it could be true. Okay, but how much alcohol are we talking about? Sia asked, as both she and Narine's father were known for their drinking. If I remember, it was enough to keep my Otosan out for a whole week, and he was known to be quite a drinker when he was younger. I think they called him sober 17 inches, get it, while Naruto-kun went to school the very next day. Kaide told them, and they began to wonder if their fathers would be okay. After that little discussion, they all began to eat as the girls began to talk about themselves, while Naruto, Yustoma, and Fanboy began a shot drinking contest. Primula was sitting next to Naruto Ting, quietly ignoring the noise, and as they guessed, enjoying the company, as it was hard to read her emotion or what emotions she showed. All in all, they had a fun time. Why, you know, and Naruto-chan, you're a good kid. Fanboy slurred, completely drunk, as he slouched onto Narine's shoulder as she and Sia, who had her drunken father in the same position, were standing by the front door. Yeah, ma, boy's right, Yustoma slurred as he hiccuped. Why, you know what? You can have Sia forget the whole wedding thing, as she's all yours. He added, making his daughter blush, then have her elbow him in the ribs. Ouch. Sia, it's nice to hit your Otosan. A special in front of Naruto, you'll make me look bad. Well, shut up then, she yelled as she glared at him for making such a decision without her consent, even if she wouldn't mind. Thanks for having us over, Kaide. She told her with a happy face, then looked at Naruto. And it was nice to spend some more time with Naruto-kun. Yes, thank you for letting us stay. I hope we could do this again sometime. Noreen added, holding her father, who looked like he was going to pass out. Sure, no problem, but are you sure you two don't need any help? He asked, seeing them struggle to keep hold of their fathers. Oh, don't worry about us, we can manage, Sia said as she pushed her father up to a more comfortable position. Well, we'll see you at school. She then left with her father as Noreen waved goodbye, following right behind Sia, leaving Naruto and Kaide along with Primula alone. Well, I should give Primula a bath and set of cloths before she goes to bed, Kaide said, then looks at Naruto. Do you want me to get the bath ready for you when I'm done? She asked him, only for his to shake his head. No, I think I'm going to go to bed. I'll take one in the morning, he told her as he stretched while yawning. Well, good night then, she said as she and Primula left towards the kitchen so she could soak the dishes while she gave Primula a bath, leaving Naruto to walk upstairs to his room. Upon entering his room, he didn't even bother to turn his lights on as he took his shirt and pants off, then hopped into bed. I think I might actually be a bit tipsy, he thought as he slowly closed his eyes. Not only that, but those two kings are now my neighbors, which explain why my other ones moved. God, could my life get any more troubling than it is now? With his eyes now fully closed and on the verge of sleep, he heard someone talk and suddenly opened his eyes. Who knows what the future has in store for you? A feminine, caring sounding voice said to him, making him shoot up from his bed, looking towards the door, thinking Kaide might have come in but found no one but himself. Who's there? Naruto called out, seeing if something was in his room but received no answer. Thinking it must be the booze getting to him, he made his way back to his bed, and just before he was about to get in it, the voice said something else. You won't be able to see me, the voice told him. Not yet, that is. Quote, Naruto couldn't tell if this was happening or not, but he was getting this feeling as if he weren't alone in the fact that this voice sounded family. He just couldn't picture a face to go with. Tell me who you are, he demanded, only to get a chuckle from the voice. That's the first time anyone demanded me to do anything, but you're far from ordering me, the voice told him, getting a growl from him. But in due time you will meet me, but until then live your life to its fullest, for both of your cousins, the voice said with a hint of sadness at the end, then went silent. As for Naruto, he was shocked not only for the voice to know his adoptive mother, but it apparently knew his real mother. You know my real mother? Naruto exclaimed. Please tell me who she was, what she's like, what she'd looked like, he asked, more like pleading for the voice to tell him, but unfortunately, the voice didn't reply and left him with nothing but silence. Please, I'm begging you, it'd been one of my dreams to know who my real mother was, so please, just give me that, he pleaded again, tears forming in his eyes, but again he received no reply. After a while he gave up and went to sleep. I'm sorry, Naruto, but you're not ready to see me as what I did for you. You've regretted it ever since that day, the voice said as it waited for Naruto to fall asleep before saying anything. Until then, I will watch over you and wait for the right moment to tell you and answer all your questions. So please take care of yourself, and I promise, as I did with your birth cousin, to always keep you safe. The voice then receded to wherever it may have been. Just outside his room, Kaide was listening to what Naruto was saying after hearing him yell something about his real mother, then heard him tell whomever he was talking to about what he wanted. It almost made her want to cry, hearing how sad and hurt Naruto sounded. She wanted to see if he was alright, but hearing no commotion coming from his room, she figured he must have fallen asleep. So she decided to leave him be and get ready for bed herself and ask him about it in morning. Well, there you have it. So I hoped you liked it. I might type one more chapter for this, then start on my other stories, so if there is a long wait, it's because of that. If any of you are a beta reader and would like beta this story for me, just PM me, and for those of you, if not all, didn't get the Sober 17 Inches Part 1, will explain. You see, if you're like me, a big anime fan that knows almost every English dub voice actor just by hearing him or her, then you might have gotten it. Now if you watched DBZ and knew who the voice actor for Android 17, who is Chuck Huber, which so happens to be the voice actor for Kaide's father. So I made the name Sober 17 as a gag for those who might get it, but I'm not sure you might. It was something I came up with before you leave to do whatever else you're going to do, like read Another story or something. Let me ask you, did you find any anime characters that don't belong in these two animes? If so, good for you. If not, then shame on you, because the ones I used were from a funny as anime that you should all watch. Well, that's all. Have an either great day or night. Naruto's Disappearance. A.N. Well, here is the third chapter. I know that both the anime and Game of Shuffle had its romance, humor, and sad moments. I tried to the best of my ability to blend the three in this story, so I would appreciate if you could tell me if something could have used or add something to make it better. Other than that, enjoy the chapter. Chapter 3, Naruto's Disappearance, Past Memories, and Kyuubi. Naruto woke up early the next morning, which he rarely did unless Kaide woke him. Looking at his clock, he saw that it was 3 in the morning. He did not know what made him get up, but it didn't matter. He didn't feel like going back to bed anyway. Getting out of bed, he made his way out his room and headed towards the bathroom to take a shower. Letting the warm water hit his skin as he thought of what the voice told him, to live his life to its fullest, and how it denied telling him who it was or about his birth mother. The thought, it made him curl his fist in anger and want to punch the wall, but stopped there, knowing if he did, it would only wake Kaide and Primula, who was now living with them. Turning off the water, he stepped out of the shower and grabbed his towel, wrapping it around his lower body, and exits the bathroom, making his way back to his room. Flipping the lights, he fishes out a pair of school clothes from his closet, as he checked the time, seeing it was only 3:30. Sighing, as he had about a half hour before Kaide gets up, he really didn't want to talk with anyone right now. Therefore, he quickly changed into his school uniform and headed downstairs to get his shoes. Closing the front gate, he headed down the street with no particular destination in mind, but the sole purpose of being alone. He closed the front gate. Kaide, who was sound asleep, slowly woke up thinking she heard a gate close, rose from her bed, and headed towards the window. She moved her curtains to see if anyone were outside, only to find the street empty. She then lied back down and went to sleep, with the time she had left, before getting up to make breakfast. If she'd have got up a little faster, she would have seen Naruto walking away, but it appeared that some imaginary force were working with her blonde-haired crush, keeping those close to him away. Not long after, Kaide's alarm went off, waking her as she turned it off, got out of bed, and went to get her own school clothes. She had an uneasy feeling in her gut telling her something was wrong, while she was changing, but couldn't tell what it was. Shrugging it off, she made her way downstairs, but stopped just before she did, and looked towards Naruto's door. That same feeling from earlier crept back up and told her to check him. But again, she shrugged it off, not wanting to bother him after what she heard last night. Therefore, she continued her way downstairs to get breakfast ready for the both of them and Primula, who she was glad to have living with them. It were as if she had a little sister to care for. Entering the kitchen, with her mind already made up, she started right away, but no matter how much she ignored it, her uneasy feeling grew stronger, to the point where she would stop what she was doing, to check Naruto, but would just tell herself he was fine and continued making breakfast. Setting last of the food on the table, it was almost time to wake Naruto when the door to the kitchen suddenly opened, revealing Primula with her hair down, still half asleep, in some yellow pajamas Kaide had lent her, holding her stuffed cat in her arm. "Kaide, what are you doing?" she asked, getting a giggle from her. "I'm setting the table for breakfast, silly," Kaide replied on. Lee to get confused look from the gray-haired little girl. "You eat breakfast in the world of the demons, don't you?" "Yes, but never at a table," she told Kaide, getting a shocking gasp for her. "They only brought me a metal tray with food, where I'd sit on the floor and eat," she added, as Kaide couldn't believe what she was hearing. "Well, from now on, you will eat breakfast at a table, with me and Naruto," Kaide told her. Primula then looked for the blonde-haired person, only to see it was Kaide alone in the kitchen, and asked, "Where is Naruto?" Kaide smiled and said, "He's probably still sound asleep in his room. He never seems to get up unless I wake him." Then took of her apron and folding it as she placed it on the counter, "I swear if let him he could sleep his life away." "Do you want me to wake him?" Primula asked. "If you don't mind, I still have to make some tea," Kaide asked, getting a nod from her adopted sister. Primula then left, heading back upstairs towards Naruto's room and opened the door. Finding he wasn't there, she closed it and headed back downstairs. Naruto isn't in his room, she informed Kaede, re-entering the kitchen, getting her to tense up. Did you check the bathroom? She asked, only for her to shake her head. He's most likely in there, so why don't you go ahead and sit down while I go check, okay? Doing as told, Primula sat down in one of the chairs. As Kaede went to see if Naruto was in the restroom, by the time she reached the upstairs, she could tell the bathroom lights were off, as were his room. That uneasy feeling she had returned as she moved towards Naruto's door and knocked. Only to receive no answer, so she opened it, finding it empty, as Primula did. Quickly she closed his door and made a beeline towards the bathroom, and without knocking, she flung it open, finding it empty too, making her more worried than before. Running downstairs to the telephone, she called both Sia and Narin, whom gave her their numbers last night, asking if Naruto were there or came by, but they both told her they haven't seen him. They asked her if everything were all right, which of course she told them not to worry, but the truth remained, Naruto was missing. Primula, who this whole time still waiting, was sitting at the table for either Kaede or Naruto to come down to tell her she could eat, as she was usual told what or what not to do. Therefore, while Kaede was fussing around looking for Naruto, she sat in front of the delicious food Kaede had prepared, making her stomach growl, getting her to slowly reach for her chopsticks. Soon as she was about to grab them, the kitchen door opened, forcing her to retract her hand in a swift motion, and place it on her lap as if she were waiting the whole time. Kaede, who sat next to her, was wondering where Naruto could have gone. Suddenly felt her sleeve being pulled on and looked to see it was Primula with eyes that, she could see, were pleading her for something. Is it all right if I eat now? Primula asked, getting a blank stare from Kaede. Oh, I'm sorry, I forget you were still waiting for me, she said, completely forgetting about her. Yes, you can go ahead and eat next time, you don't have to wait, okay? Not waste any time. Primula grabbed her chopstick and began eating, while Kaede tried to figure out where Naruto could have gone. It was rare for him to get up, let alone disappear, without telling her. She could only hope he would be back soon so he could eat his breakfast. Putting Naruto's breakfast in the fridge, knowing he would eat it later or any leftovers she had if there were any. Then started packing their lunch, thinking he might be at school. Just as she finished both hers and Naruto's lunches, the doorbell rang and she quickly ran towards the front door, thinking it was Naruto. Then wondered why he would use the doorbell, but didn't care as long as he came back. Unfortunately, it wasn't Naruto, instead it was Sia and Narin with their fathers, who looked too happy for some reason. But after seeing her face sadden, they knew something was wrong. What's wrong, Missy? Yustoma asked, as it wasn't for her to be so sad. Yes, it's not like you to be sad. Did something happen? Forbesi asked, as he too noted she was never sad or worried unless it involved Naruto. Well, she said, then began to tell them what happened after she woke up. What? Naruto-kun is gone, Sia exclaimed. So that's why you called us? Narin asked, getting a nod from Kaede. Then why did you tell us nothing was wrong? I didn't want to worry you guys over it, I figured he would come back home, Kaede told her. But you can see how that turned out. Now let's calm down, Forbesi said, getting their attention. It is odd that Naruto-chan is gone, he doesn't seem like the kind of person who would just up and leave. He added, getting a nod from Sia's father. I bet he just went out for a walk to clear his mind. Perhaps something had happened once we left, Yustoma asked, getting Ed to remember what she heard him say last night. So, did anything happen once we left? I know we were quite drunk, we might have said something that bothered him. Define said. Sia whispered to he. RSELF as she looked at her father from the corner of her eyes, knowing what he said to her crush. There's nothing I can think of that the two of you said which would upset him, she said, then gave them a smile. I'm sure he's probably at school right now, waiting for us. Getting smiles from the two girls, Sia joyfully said, yeah, I bet he is, so we should hurry and get going. Just let me grab Naruto-kun's and my lunch, she told them, running back into the kitchen. As she did, she remembered Primula, who was still in the kitchen, and with her gone, she would be by herself with no one to watch her. She was going to talk with Naruto about it, but with him suddenly disappearing slipped her mind, left her with one other option. Returning to the others, who were still waiting by her. Front door. She slipped into her shoes and looked at the two kings. I know this may be asking much, but could you two please watch over Primula while I am at school, she asked the two, getting them to look at her. I suppose we could. Seeing as Naruto-chan isn't here, Fanboy told her. It can be our way of saying sorry for trying to get Naruto drunk, Yustoma added as his daughter glared at him. Trying. It were more like you planned to get him drunk, but I guess you two learned that the hard way, as Naruto-kun said, Sia replied dryly. You can say that again, replied Yustoma, a bit surprised he was out-drank. By a high schooler at that. Who knew that boy could hold his liquor? He chuckled and added, you know Ma-bo, we're gonna have to do that again sometime. I agree, but now we have an important matter to deal with. Fanboy told his friend as he looked back at Kaide. Don't worry about Primula. We'll watch her until you return, so why don't you ladies head off to school before you're late? Thank you very much. Kaide thanked them and bowed to show her gratitude. The kings of the gods and demons both watched their daughters disappear off in the distance as they walked with their new friend Kaide. Once they were gone, Yustoma looked at his demon friend with a concerned look on his face. So, do you think Naruto might have figured it out or sensed something? He asked. I hardly doubt that, Fanboy replied with the same look his friend had. It's not something an ordinary human could tell, let alone sense. You know as well I do, he is not your ordinary human, Yustoma stated, getting a nod from the king of demons. Yes, I might go as far and say he's neither from this world nor ours, Fanboy told him. However, I can't be certain if he is, but I can say he is somehow related to what happened 10 years ago. Are you serious? Yustoma asked, getting another nod from his friend. But, how can you be so sure? We only just met the boy the other day, he added. Not comprehending how Naruto could be related to the event that had happened 10 years ago. It's his presences, it feels familiar to the one I felt that day, but I can't explain why. I just know, he said, turning to look at Yustoma. Now, about Primula, do you think we should tell him? I'm not sure, it seems like a good idea, but, he said as he trailed off. You're thinking, he might think differently of her than he does now. Right, Fanboy asked, getting a nod from his friend. I thought the same exact thing. As of now, he only thinks she is a normal girl, but if he were to learn what she truly is, I fear he would look at her the same as we do. Yustoma said, worried more for Primula than Naruto. I agree, but Naruto-chan is proven to be quite unpredictable. I think if he was to learn the truth, it might not affect him at all. In fact, it might even help Primula regain her emotions. Fanboy informed him, but his friend wasn't on the same page. Are you willing to risk that on a whim? Yustoma asked, all jokes aside, as this was a serious matter. I don't know, Fanboy replied. What do you mean you don't know this is a serious matter, if Naruto were to change his outlook on Primula? I'm not sure what she would do, Yustoma told him, more worried about Primula than Naruto. I understand your concerns, it just a part of me wants to tell him, but the other is screaming for me to keep quiet. Fanboy said as he looked at Kaide's house. How about, we leave things as they are, and wait till he comes asking us about the truth. Until then, we will keep it a secret. He added, getting the king of the gods to look worried of the idea but agreed nonetheless. Now, that only leaves one more question, Yustoma said, getting Fanboy to look at him, thinking what else did they have to worry about? And that is what? He asked. Should we raid the little Missy's fridge? Yustoma asked, getting the king of demons to sweat drop. And how is that important? Fanboy asked, dryly, not seeing the importance of raiding Kaide's fridge. Well, Sia didn't make me any breakfast as punishment for trying to get Naruto drunk, he told him as his stomach growled to prove his point. And to make matter worse, she locked the fridge with one of the human's padlocks so she would know if I opened it, saying that I couldn't eat until she got back from school. He whined, as he really wanted something to eat. That is unfortunate for you, but since I cook all Narin's lunches, she couldn't do that, he said with a smirk, getting the king of gods to glare at him. So, you are saying your daughter is not punishing you for what you did, he asked, getting Fanboy's smirk to disappear and droop his head. Well, she did call me Mao-sama this morning, Fanboy informed him, sounding a bit hurt. Getting a grin from the king of gods. Mao-sama is what Narin calls her father in the shuffle game when she is angry with him. Well, we're not so smug now, are we, Ustoma EXCL? Aimed still grinning until his stomach growled again. But, back to my question. I don't think it's such a great idea, you know how Sia-chan gets when you don't listen to her, Forbesi warned his friend. What she doesn't know can't hurt her, right, Ustoma replied as he headed towards Kaide's front door. Don't say I didn't warn you, his friend said as he followed him. What do you think made Naruto-sama disappear like he did? Narin asked the two, as she was worried about her crush. From what I could tell, Naruto-kun seems like the person who is always happy, it had to be something very upsetting to make him disappear like that. Sia replied as Kaide stayed quiet, knowing why Naruto left but kept it to herself as it wasn't for her to discuss. What do you think, Kaide? Sia asked. Only for her to get no reply, then looked at her, seeing she was spacing out. Earth 2, Kaide, she said, waving her hand in front the said woman's face, snapping her out of her trance-like state. Oh, I'm sorry, what did you say? Kaide asked, getting Sia to look at her. You know, you've been like that the whole walk to school, are you sure you're alright? Sia asked, she could tell Kaide was worried about something. Well, it's just Naruto-kun has never once left without telling me where he was going, she informed the two. I just find it odd that he would start now, that's all, she added with a small smile, trying to hide the worry look on her face. The way you say it does make it seem like a big deal, since you two do live together, Narin said, getting Sia to look at Kaide. Kaide, you're so lucky. Not only do you get to live with Naruto-kun, but you make all his food and do all his chores, Sia said, sounding a bit jealous that Kaide is closer to Naruto than her. You probably know everything about him, like what his favorite foods are, his favorite color, clothes, shoes, movie, day, everything. She added, then gave Kaide a look that made her a bit worried and said, I bet you even know what his favorite position is. That got a confused form Kaide, then her face suddenly turned beet red along with Narin, then exclaimed, Naruto-kun, and I haven't done that. Sia sighed, to her relief, as Kaide's blush deepened from the thought of Naruto and her doing anything like that, even though she wouldn't mind. That's good to know, Sia said, placing a hand on her chest, then looks back at Kaide. But I figured the two of you would have done it at least once, since you both do live together. Oh, that reminds me, Sia voiced, getting their attention as she turned to Narin and asked. Did you punish your Otosan this morning? Well, if you can call it punishment, but I did call him Mao-sama, Narin told her. Sia giggled and said, to you, Otosan, that's the worst you could do. He hates it when you call him that. What did you do to your Otosan? She asked, getting Sia to smirk. And if Narin knew her friend, it was going to be something harsh. I didn't make him breakfast and lock the fridge with one of those human padlock things, therefore I would know if he opened it, she told her. Don't you think that's a bit harsh? Narin replied, knowing her friend makes all her father's and her food. Nope, now he knows not to try and get Naruto-kun drunk, even if it didn't work, she said, a bit surprised that Naruto was able to outdrink both her and Narin's fathers. But I am surprised Naruto-kun can drink that much. I know what you mean. Once I got home, I left my Otosan on the couch in the living room as he was too heavy to take upstairs, Narin told Sia, who completely understood what she went through. I was able to get my Otosan to his room, but I had to drag him there because he fell once we stepped inside the house, Sia whined, as it wasn't easy for her to drag a full-grown man. Maybe we should have accepted Naruto-sama's offer to help, Narin said, getting Sia to agree with her. As the two were talking, Kaide, who zoned out again, as thinking about what she had heard Naruto say last night and tried to figure out whom he was talking to, as there are only 3 people that now live there. Not to mention whoever it was, told him something about his birth mother. After hearing him sound so hurt, made her want to never hear him like that again. Not long after that, she heard a voice of someone else that harbored hidden feeling for her blonde crush. Snapped her from her thoughts. Hi guys, Asa called out, getting the 3 girls' attention, then noticed Naruto wasn't with them. Where's Naru-chan? She asked, only to get a somewhat sad look from them. Well, you see, Naruto-kun disappeared this morning, and we don't know where he is right now, Kaide told her, sounding a bit worried and hurt that he was gone. Naru-chan disappeared, Well, that's not like him, Asa said, trying to figure out why he would suddenly disappear and not tell Kaide where he was going. Kaide said the same thing, Sia said, wondering if this were a big deal. You shouldn't worry though, this is Naru-chan we're talking about, Asa told them, waving her hand up and down. He is known to do things we wouldn't suspect, she added with a laugh and said, besides, I bet he is in class waiting for school to start for a change. The thought alone was enough to get Kaide to giggle at the thought of Naruto wanting school to start, since he hates going. You're right, Asa-senpai, Kaide said in a cheery mood instead of the gloomy one she had earlier. Now that's the Kaide I know, Asa said as they all headed towards school. Once they reached their lockers, they all said their goodbyes, since Asa was an upperclassman, and heading towards theirs classroom. Reaching the door to class, Kaide remembered what Itsuki tried yesterday, and since Naruto wasn't there to stop him, she had to figure out what to do. Then it hit her. Telling Sia and Narin to stand off to the side, confusing them to why, but listen nonetheless, as Kaide stood beside the door and opened it. Welcome to my heart, ladies, Itsuki exclaimed, expecting Naruto to punch him in the gut again. Instead, he flew face first into the wall across the hall. Well, that was unsuspected, he groaned as he fell back with a big red mark on his face where it hit the wall. So you're telling me Naruto just disappeared, Itsuki said as puts his glasses, which somehow broke in half, which he taped together that had small cracks on the glass, back on. Man, Naruto's a cruel-hearted person, making 3 beautiful women worry about him, he told them as he stood up. Don't worry, ladies, I'll take care of you every need while Naruto is gone, he exclaimed, placing a hand over where his heart would be. Don't you mean your every need? Mayumi voiced as she joined the group, getting Itsuki attention. No, I mean theirs. And if one of them so happens to involve one of mine, then so be it, he replied in a matter-of-fact-like tone. Whatever, Mayumi said as she rolled her eyes at him, then looks over at the 3 girls. So, you guys really don't know where Naruto is? She asked, getting them to shake their heads. If I'm correct, I did see someone who looked like Naruto in the park on my way to school, she told them, getting Kaide to jump out of her seat. Really? Are you sure it was Naruto-kun? She asked her, hoping she were right. Well, he did have the same color hair and style. But I didn't get a good look as I was trying not to be late for school. For all I know, it could be someone else, Mayumi replied, trying to remember, then gasps. Now that I think about it, he did wear the same uniform as our school. That was all Kaide needed to hear as she ran towards the door just as the bell rang, stopping her right before she could open it as her teacher Ms. Nadeshiko walked in. All right, class. You heard the bell, so butts in seats, she ordered, with the class listening but for 3, Kaide, who was by the door, Sia, and Narin standing by their desks. Ms. Fuyu, didn't you hear me? She asked, only for Kaide to look back at her. Sorry, Ms. Nadeshiko, but I have to go, Kaide told her, then ran out the door after she opened it. Hey, get your butt back here, Ms. Nadeshiko exclaimed as she watched her student run out the door. Sia and Narin were about to follow their friend, however their teacher stopped them. And where do you 2 think you're going? She asked them, who were afraid to answer. To go? Sia began, trying to think up an excuse to leave class. Use the restroom. Yeah, we need to use the restroom. When you got to go, you got to go, she said, laughing nervously, hoping her teacher would buy it, which she didn't. No, now sit in your seats, their teacher ordered them. But, Sia tried to reply, but Ms. Nadeshiko interrupted her. No buts, the only ones I want are yours in their seats, now, she demanded. They both sighed and did as they were told. Ms. Nadeshiko then asked, now, will anyone tell me why Ms. Fuyu suddenly ran out my classroom? She then looked around the room and noticed Naruto was missing. And where is Uzumaki? She asked the class again. That's when Mayumi raised her hand. Well, that's the thing. She left to go find him. She told her, who gave her a look as if she were an idiot in return, then shook her head. That boy is nothing but trouble, she sighed, knowing he was going to make up some stupid excuse again, to why he was late. She still hasn't forgotten what he told her the other day. The thought of it made a faint blush appear on her face that she quickly shook off and said, anyway class, today I I'm going to tell you about the history of. Ah, the whole class said at once when she mentioned the word history. Miss, history sucks, one random student exclaimed, causing a tick mark to appear in her head. Whoever said that is going to do bunny hops with dumbbells up and down the stairs 50 times, she told whoever it was as her back was facing her class. After Naruto left his Kaide's house, he really didn't have anywhere in mind he wanted to go, so he just walked aimlessly, letting his body walk on its own, thinking about what happened last night. It made his blood boil every time he thought how that voice denied his answers. It also sounded like it were talking in his mind, but he couldn't be sure since it was a short-lived conversation. However, he was sure of one thing though, that voice was vaguely familiar but couldn't picture a face to go with it. He also knew his sudden disappearance was going to upset Kaide, but he needed to be alone. He couldn't concentrate if he stayed home. He knew Kaide would see something was bothering him. His aimless walking eventually brought him to the one place where he felt secure, the park, the same park he brought Asa yesterday. He didn't know why his body brought him here, but remember reading something about memories, that there are two types, what the conscious mind remembers, and what the body remembers. Since he always went to the park as a kid, his body must have noticed, and since his mind was occupied, his body took over and led him here. Shrugging it off, he sat down on one of the swings, placing his bag down, and tried to figure out who that damn voice was to him. He would replay it repeatedly in his mind, hoping it would trigger something, anything, but it only gave him a huge headache. With all that thinking made him lose track of time, assuming he were only here for an hour or so, but in reality, he sat on that swing for 4.5. Damn it, why couldn't you just tell me who the hell you are, he exclaimed. In his head, hoping to wake whoever that voice was, but received no response. God damn it, I know that voice from somewhere, so why can't I remember her, he thought, then realized what he just said. Her, why the hell did I say her? It made no sense to him, why he thought the voice would be a woman, but then thought about what that voice said to him last night, one part in particular. Live you are life to its fullest, for both of your cousins. Single quote. He replayed that part in his head until finally it hit him, never paying attention to the sound of someone calling his name. That's it, he exclaimed, figuring out who it was. It was that woman, from 10 years ago on. That day, he remembered as all his enthusiasm suddenly died as it reminded him of that dreadful day. However, before he could start sulking, two slender arms wrapped around his neck, getting him to realize he wasn't alone. Naruto-kun, so this was where you disappeared off to, Kaide said in a worried tone, getting him to wonder why she was here and not at home. Kaide, what are you doing here? Shouldn't you be at home making breakfast for you and Primula? He asked, only to get a confused look from her. Naruto-kun, what are you talking about? It's already after 8, she informed him, getting him to nod at his head, then realize what she said. After 8, then that means, he exclaimed as she stood up, almost knocking Kaide over. I'm late for school, and if I'm late, that means, he said as he facepalmed. Ms. Natashiko is going to kill me after school today, he added, lowering his head, knowing what she was going to make him do once he got to class. Don't worry, Naruto-kun, I'm in the same boat as you, Kaide said, trying to reassure him, but all it did was make it worse. Oh no, knowing that you're late because of me, she's going to make it that much worse, he told her, then went into a thinking pose. Unless I can make up a good excuse that might slim the punishment down a bit, he then began to think of excuses. How about our dog died? No, we don't even have a dog. How about I was helping an old lady walk across the street? No, I think I used that one already, he said to himself as he paced back and forth. Damn, everyone I come up with, I already used, he exclaimed, almost ready to pull out his hair, while Kaide just watched, glad that he wasn't so down then she thought he would be. Why don't you tell her the truth? Kaide suggested, getting Naruto to stop in his tracks and look at her as if she was crazy. Kaide, this is Ms. Natashiko we're talking about, she could care less about the truth that comes out of my mouth. He told her, then threw his hand up in defeat. Screw it, let's just go before she makes me wash the whole school, he said, making Kaide giggle as the two made tea. Air way towards the one place hated to go. It didn't take long for them to reach their school. In Kaide's case returned since she left to find Naruto, who was now sweating bullets, as they stood in front of their class door. Taking a deep breath, Naruto opened the door, but before he could even say a word, his teacher interrupted him. Uzumaki, it's nice of you to join my class, she said in a tone Naruto knew she was pissed. And, you brought Ms. Fuyu back with you, she added, seeing Kaide hiding behind Naruto. I couldn't just let her skip class, he replied. You're the reason why she skipped in the first place. She informed him. You got a point there, he answered, walking in with Kaide behind him. But, all that matters is I brought her back, he added, hoping it would help with his situation. True, but you're not off the hook yet, she stated, making Naruto cures under his breath, while writing something down on the blackboard, then turned to face him. Which of the two do you prefer? She began getting his attention. Option A, 500 laps on the track field with a tire strapped to your waist, or Option B, 500 laps walking, on your hands, she told him, watching as he thought it over. Wow, they both excellent choices, he joked, getting the class to laugh. But, I'm going to go with Option C, he told her, getting one of her eyebrows to twitch. There is no Option C, she replied, holding back from yelling at him. What are you talking about, miss? There is always an Option C, it's one of new mottos, when in doubt go with C, he said with a smug look on his face. I'll give you an Option C, all right, she said in a low voice only she could hear. Just sit in your seat so I can continue teaching. Yes ma'am, he answered, heading towards his seat, then asked, so what are we learning today? History. Quote. That was as far as she got until Naruto interrupted her. Ah miss, history sucks, Naruto whined, getting the class to laugh again, which just seemed to enrage Ms. Natashiko even more. That's what I said, the student who said the same thing earlier said, but before anyone could make another comment, the sound of a piece of chalk snapping in two shut them up. Uzumaki, shut up and sit down, she ordered, and without a word, he did as he was told as she looked at Kaide. And, before I forget, Ms. Fuyu, I want a 10-page report on what you missed. Understood, she said, getting a nod from her. That's bull carp, Naruto blurted out, getting his teacher to glare at him. Why couldn't my punishment be something like that? Well, this is Ms. Fuyu's first time, so it's more like a warning, she told him. What? He exclaimed and said, you gave me a 100-page report on my first warning. That you still haven't turned into me, she told him as her fist shook in anger. And, I'm still not gonna. Why would I want to write about some dead old geezer anyway, he told her, crossing his arms. Now if you asked to write a report on ramen, then I would have done it, he added, getting a weird look from his teacher. What's with you and ramen? She asked, as she never understood, as did the rest of the class, why he loved ramen so much. I don't know, what's with you, giving me so much physical labor, punishments, he replied, and then added, I think it's so you can see me with my shirt off. That comment got her to widen her eyes a bit as small blush. Appear as did the rest of the girls in class that have seen him without his shirt, but she quickly coughed into her fist to calm herself, then looked to see a smirk on the boy's face. Before she could say anything, the bell rang, ending class, which put Naruto in the clear, for now. You're lucky, Uzumaki, but I'll see you after school with your physical labor, as you put, she said with an evil low. Oking grin that made Naruto rethink about what he said, but there was no point in crying about it now. Soon as Ms. Natashiko left the room, all the students got into their own little groups, waiting for the next teacher to arrive, as Naruto and Kaide stayed in their seats. Atsuki, Mayumi, Sia, and Narin all walked over towards them. Man, Naruto, you sure pissed off Ms. Natashiko today, Atsuki said, not wanting to be in his friend's shoes right now. I have to agree, I haven't seen her this mad since you skipped school for that new video game that came out. What was it again? Mayumi said as she read to remember what the name of the game was. It was Street Fighter 4, and it was well worth it, he replied in a matter-of-fact tone, making her roll her eyes. And, I'm not worried. What worse can she do that I haven't done already? He said, getting his friends to start pitying him. Anyway, but did you see Ms. Natashiko blush, or was it just me? Mayumi asked, as she never seen her teacher BL. Is Naruto smirked, thinking they haven't seen anything close to what he witnessed. That was most definitely a blush, Itsuki said, sounding certain about it. It was somewhat creepy, but in a hot way, he added, getting Mayumi to look at him as if he grew a second head. I mean, she is one of the scariest women I know, and she was able to blush. He then looked at Naruto. I don't know how you do it, Naruto. But you're able to bring out any woman's feminine side, he said, a bit jealous of his friend's amazing gift. Has class always been like this? Sia asked, as it wasn't like this yesterday. She is whenever Naruto's in a good mood or in class, Mayumi informed her. Yup, our little Naruto here is the only one in class who has the guts to talk back to Ms. Nadeshiko, he said to them, then added, not to mention the endurance to handle all the punishments she gives him. But, isn't it rude to talk back? Narine asked, as she had been raised to never talk back to a teacher. From what I've seen, Ms. Nadeshiko is the only teacher he talks back to. I think it's his way of saying he respect her, Itsuki stated. I guess you can put it like that, but I mostly do it because it's fun to see her get mad. Even if she scares the living hell out of me, Naruto said, getting crazy looks from his friends. I think you do so you can get a free workout, Kaide voiced, getting her blonde crush to think about it some more. You know, now that I think about it, you're right, Kaide, he replied with a smile, getting the others to really think he was crazy or messed up in the head. Then the door to class opened as the bell rang. Whilst the teacher entered, informing them to take their seats, which they took their time doing, since it wasn't Ms. Nadeshiko ordering them to do so. It was almost time for the lunch bell to ring, and one person was dying for it to hurry up, as did the rest of the class, because the entire period, they all had to sit and listen to the sound of a giant fox growling, which echoed throughout the classroom. Whistle, the owner of it, had his head resting on his desk, holding his stomach, whispering, I need food, because he so happened to decide to leave early this morning and skipping breakfast. Which proved to be a very bad decision on his part. Suddenly the sounds of heaven's bells rang throughout the school, telling him, and the rest of the students, it was finally lunch, and he promptly asks Kaide something. Kaide. He began, getting his housemates' attention. Please tell me you brought my lunch with you, he asked, hopping she did because he was starving, thinking he'll never skip breakfast again for the rest of his life. Of course I did, you know I would never leave for school without it, she giggled to his relief. Just before he stood up, Itsuki came over, with both Sia and Narine behind him, and asked, Hey Naruto, you wouldn't mind if both Sia and Narine eat lunch with us, do you? Naruto looked from him to the girls behind him that looked a bit shy and hoped he'd say yes. Sure, I don't mind, he told him, getting smiles from both Narine and Sia. But, can we hurry? I'm starving, I don't know how much longer I can go without any food, he told them, getting them to laugh. But the funny thing was, he wasn't joking. Soon they made their way to the roof where they always ate their lunch, and soon as Naruto opened the door, everyone looked directly at him, seeing he were with the three most wanted girls in school. All the boys glared daggers at him as the girls looked as if they wanting to be with him while making eye contact with every male there. What the hell are you all looking at? Naruto exclaimed, getting the boys to look away and the girls to chat with their friends. Finding a spot by a bench to sit down, Kaide took out both Naruto's and her lunch out from her handbag and gave him his, that he immediately opened and began scarfing it down, well, more like inhaling it. Naruto-kun, if you eat like that, you're going to choke, Kaide told him. But he didn't listen and continued scarfing down his lunch until he was finished, letting out a satisfied sigh. Ah, man, that hit the spot, he said, rubbing his now satisfied stomach, then said, that's the last time I ever skip breakfast. He then placed his bento down and looks at the newest members of their small group. So, how are you two faring in the human world, he asked them. We're managing pretty well, thanks for asking, Narine told him, then said, if you don't mind me asking, but what happened this morning? It was something they all wanted to know, and he could tell, just by how anxious everyone was, waited for him to answer. Well, about that, he trailed off, not knowing how to explain. That's when Mayumi voiced her opinion. I bet it was a lover's quarrel, she's aid, getting Kaide to blush and Naruto to look at her funny. No, it wasn't a lover's quarrel, he replied, getting Mayumi to curse under her breath, it would have been some good dirt on the two's relationship. Even if it were, you think Kaide would still make and bring me my lunch, he told her, making a valid point. Yeah, you're right, I sure wouldn't, but then what was it? Because it made Kaide so worried that she left class. She replied as she had never seen her friend ever leave class after the bell, unless she had to use the restroom. Let's just say, I had a crazy dream and needed some time to clear my head. He said, hoping to get them to drop conversation about what he did this morning. So girls, how are your Otosans doing? Naruto asked both Sia and Narin, changing the attention from him to them. What do you mean? What happened? Mayumi asked, as it sounded interesting. Well, both Sia's and Narin's Otosans came over last night and tried to get Naruto-kun drunk, Kaide said to hers, and Itsuki surprised. Man, I bet those two kings were plastered. Itsuki laughed, getting Mayumi to wonder why he would think that. What makes you say that? She asked, getting her perverted friend to smirk. Well, it may not look it, but Naruto here is what I call an alcoholic god, Itsuki proclaimed, getting Naruto to shake his head and to sigh, knowing where this was going. I don't get it, Mayumi replied, getting a tisk noise from Itsuki. You see, one day Naruto and I were cruising for some chicks, when we happened to stop by a bar where a couple of seniors so happened to be in, and dragged him in, yelling he could outdrink anyone in there. It would have been fine if he were at any other bar, but no, he happened to be dragged into the one that had a bunch of mean-looking gang members in it, and let me tell you, there were mean-looking ones too, he said as he shivered a bit, then starts to tell the rest of the story, even after Naruto gave him a warning glare to shut up. Of course, our Naruto refused. But after they made fun of his whiskers, and called him a snot-nosed little brat who should go home to his mommy, I then saw a gleam in his eyes I never seen before. Then the next thing I knew, he not only outdrank the whole bar but he stole all the babes too. I haven't been so pissed at him in my whole life since then. He finished shaking his fist in anger, then looks at Naruto and says, if I knew you couldn't kick my ass, I'd punch you right now. Itsuki, Naruto yelled at him. I told you to keep that a secret, you idiot. Well, if these two want to marry you, he gestured to both Sia and Narin with his thumb, then they should know what kind of man you really are, he said out of jealousy. This is some good info, Mayumi whispered, getting Naruto's attention. Don't even think about it, Mayumi, he warned her. Think about what? I wasn't going to do anything, she said, acting innocent. Don't give me that crap. If you put that in the school paper or spread rumors, not only will it get me in trouble, but most likely expelled, he told her as she put her head down, knowing she was caught. Fine, I promise not to tell anyone, she said, hating the fact that she was able to get such good info on him, but couldn't say a word about it. Anyway, are you girls satisfied? She asked both Sia and Narin. About what? Sia asked, not understanding what she meant. Don't you want to jump on Naruto and scream, Kya? I've been waiting so long to see you, Naruto-kun. She asked the two, then said, you did transfer here in order to be reunited with Naruto. Right. Both Sia and Narin look at each other and stick their tongues out. To be honest, we really wanted to do that, Sia said, blushing. But we figured it would only cause more trouble for Naruto-sama. If we did it in front of everyone, Narin said as her face turns red while looking at Naruto. How perfect. The both of them are willing to compromise themselves in order to be considerate towards the man they love. She said, then looks at Kaide. Good luck, Kaide. Your rival's going to be tough to beat, she told her, making her blush. Mayumi, Kaide whined as she was still blushing. Man, Naruto, I want to kick your ass so bad right now, Itsuki stated, getting Naruto to ignore his empty threats, even if he did sound serious. Is it true that the both of you meet Naruto-kun when you were kids? Kaide asked, a little bashful. Yes, it was about 8 years ago, when I came to this world with my Otosan because of his work. She started looking a bit shy as she did. But I was so bored that I left the house and got lost, she said, laughing nervously as everyone's sweat dropped. I then got on a train because I remember seeing them in books, and I really wanted to ride one. But then I didn't know where I was, so I started to get scared. Right before I was about to start crying is when Naruto-kun found me, and played with me until some of my Otosan's man found us, she told them. Sounding extremely happy about that moment and said, with a smile on her face, my Otosan was so worried, that he almost declared war on this world. I'm pretty sure, that's something you're not supposed to smile about, Naruto said dryly, making her giggle. To think, the world was almost destroyed, by one little girl's curiosity. The same thing happened to me too, Narin said, getting everyone's attention. I also got lost in this world when I came with my Otosan. I was in the city by the time I realized I was lost, that's when I meet Naruto-sama. I didn't know you were such a ladies' man when you were just a kid, Naruto, Itsuki said, a bit surprised. That's so not fair. Why does God favor you so much? Just shut up, Itsuki, Naruto told his friend, who was cursing him under his breath. So you meet them unconsciously, Mayumi said to Naruto as she lightly shoved him. What do you think, Kaide? She asked, getting her attention. Naruto did all this, despite the fact he had the perfect girl in his life, she told her. Well, it's not like he did anything wrong to me, she said, then trailed off as her face saddens. Besides, I have no right to say what he did 8 years ago. She said more to herself than to Mayumi, confusing the said girl. What? Mayumi asked, only for Naruto to interrupt her. Kaide, I've told you, that's all in the past now, besides, it wasn't your fault. Naruto told her, getting a weak smile from her as Mayumi shrugged it off. Naruto then looked at both Narin and Sia and said, if I remember right, I meet one of you in a park, and the other at a station. Soon as he said that, both their faces lit up and Sia, in complete shock, asked, You remember? You remember about that day? Narin asked in the same boat Sia was as they both moved closer towards him. It's still fuzzy, but I remember some of it, he told them. That's still fantastic, Sia exclaims, holding her hands, cupped together, in front of her chest, and smiles. I still can't believe you remembered, Narin said, doing the same as Sia, but with a far-off look in her eyes. It seems your rivals are tougher than I thought, Kaide, Mayumi said, getting Kaide to blush once again. You know what? Forget kicking you ass, Naruto, I just want to kill you right now, Itsuki threatened his friend, only for his said friend to snort at him. We're not trying to force ourselves into your life though, right, Rin-chan? Sia said, then asked Narin if she were right. Yes, we both want you to have a normal, she told him. In the end, it's you who chooses the one you want to be with. She added, then put on a somewhat serious look on her face and said, of course, I hope you chose me though. You better watch it, Kaide, or Narin will steal Naruto from you. Mayumi told her. But Naruto-kun is the one who chooses, Kaide blurted out. Damn it, Naruto, Itsuki said, but Naruto interrupted him. I swear to God, if you threaten me one more time, Itsuki, I'm going to punch you in the face. Naruto threatened him, shutting his friend up. Anyway, I'm still only a candidate to be your girlfriend, so please take good care of me, Sia told him, still smiling. I may not be perfect, but please take good care of me too, Narin also told him. Sure, I'll try my best, he said, giving them one of his fox-like grins, making them blush. But let's not talk about the whole fiancé thing, okay? He asked, getting nods from the two of them. Now, if you all excuse me, I am going to go take a nap, he informed all of them as he stood up and headed towards the bench. What? Both Sia and Narin asked. Oh, don't worry, he does that every time Ms. Nadeshiko gives him one of her crazy punishment, Mayumi told the two as they watched their crush lie down on the bench, and before they knew it, he was fast asleep. How is he able to do that? Sia asked as she never seen anyone fall asleep that fast. Beats me, it's one of the things we can't explain about him. Mayumi said, watching Naruto sleep a little longer than she should have, seeing how calm and relaxed he looked, compared to the happy-go-lucky attitude of his. She even thought he looked somewhat cute, then blushed at her own thought, getting everyone to look at her. Mayumi, is something wrong? Your face is all red, Kaide asked. And no, it's nothing, I just thought of something, that's all, she told her. However, Itsuki knew it was something else. I know, you were thinking about Naruto, weren't you? Itsuki said, getting Mayumi's blush to deepen. And no, I wasn't, she replied, but her face told a different story. You can't lie to me, besides, it's written all over your face, he told her, then smirks when she tensed up. And no, I mean, shut up Itsuki, Mayumi exclaimed, trying to hide her blushed face with her bento box, while she ate the rest of her food. Itsuki then looked at Naruto's sleeping form. You now have 4 girls who after you, he thought as he went back to eating his lunch. You lucky bastard. The rest of their school day went the same as usual, but one person was dreading that final moment when school ends, as that person didn't know what their punishment was for being late to class. And when he or she did, regretted every word he or she said. You know, miss, I think this is far worse than any punishment you had ever given me. In fact, I think this is against the law. Naruto gritted through his teeth. Less whining, and more walking, Ms. Nadeshiko told him as she watched her most troubled student walk in a handstand, with a tire tied to his wrists, and of course, he had his shirt off. You only have 100 more to go, she added, getting a growl from him. That's easy for you to say. You don't have a damn tire tied to your wrists, Naruto exclaimed. That sounded more like whining to her. Well, next time learn to keep your mouth shut, she said, remembering the comment he said, about her wanting to see him with his shirt off. I highly doubt that will happen, he replied, getting her to shake her head as he continued with his so-called punishment. As she watched him, she had to wonder how a boy his age has such a body. It were as if he was born with it. Then got her thinking what the boy's real father must have looked like, since she knew he was adopted. By the time he finished his punishment, it was close to sunset while he laid there on the ground with his arms felling like jello, and was sure he couldn't even get himself up. So, did you learn your lesson, Ms. Nadeshiko said, looked down at him, trying not to stare at his body longer than she should. Yeah, he said between pants, trying to catch his breath, as she smirked, thinking she was finally able to get some sense into that thick skull head of his, but what he said next changed that entirely. Never go with option C, he added, chuckling to himself after seeing his teacher eyebrow to twitch. And then what? He asked, just to provoke her, making her glare at him. I'm joking, he told as she sighed. But, on a more serious note, she began getting his attention. About what you said yesterday. About what? That you're awesome, he said as he managed to sit up. No, that you said I was. She was then interrupted by him. Smart, yup, smartest teacher I know, he told her, dodging the question she really wanted to talk about on purpose just to agitate her. Uzumaki, you know what I mean, she said with a softer, but still serious tone. I know, and I meant every word, he told her with nothing but the truth as he spoke. You are a beautiful, attractive woman, who is not only sexy, but smart to boot. If you ask me, that's a triple threat, he told as she blushed from the compliment, a lot less than last time, since she was suspecting it, and said, it's too bad that you only get hit on by assholes who only want a one-night stand. He then heard a frustrated sigh coming from her. It was the truth. They were the only type of men that hit on her, besides Itsuki and the king of the demons. Now let me ask you something, he added, getting her full attention. What do you truly think of me? Her eyes widened a bit, then hid her blush face and said, what are you talking about? Oh come on, I know you were staring at my body, while I was doing that crazy ass punishment, he told her, getting her blush to deepen, knowing she was caught staring. Now answer my question, do you think of me as a student, or as something more? He asked, smirking as he watched her dead whether to tell him or not. So you want to know what I think of you, she repeated, getting a nod from him. Fine, I'll tell you, I think you are a student who needs to get their priorities straight, if he ever want to pass this year, she answered him, getting a confused look from him, then turned around and walked away. I better see you in class tomorrow, and if you're late, I'll double what you did today, she called out. If he keeps talking like that, I might get fired for something I won't regret, she thought to herself as she saw Kaide with a gray-haired girl, with 2 pigtails, walking towards her. How many girls does that boy need? First, it was Ms. Fuyu, then the 2 princesses, and now this girl, she added with a hint of jealousy. Hello Ms. Nadeshiko, is Naruto-kun done? Kaide asked once she reached her. Yes, and I hope he learned his lesson, but something tells me Otherwise, she replied, then looking at Primula and said, and who might this be? Oh, this is Primula. She is a friend of Sia and Narin's, that is now living with Naruto and me, Kaide informed her. As I thought, another girl, she thought and said, well anyway, I have to get going, and make sure Uzumaki gets home. Yes ma'am, and have a great evening, Kaide said with a slight bow. Then ran over to Naruto, with Primula right behind her, as her teacher continued her way. How are you feeling Naruto-kun? She asked him as he stood up to his discomfort. Like a million yen, he joked despite the pain he was in the moment. Sure you are, Kaide giggled and said, now then, how about we get you home so you can soak those arms of yours in a hot bath, while I finish dinner. Sounds like a plan to me, he replied, thinking the same thing that she was, as they made their way back to home. Soon as they made it home, Kaide, who immediately went upstairs to get Naruto's bath ready, as he slowly made his way there while Primula went into the kitchen and waited for Kaide to come back down. As Naruto reached the bathroom, he could see his housemate bent over, a little too far, giving him a nice view of her striped panties, which didn't help him, as the two were now alone in a bathroom of all places. He closed his eyes and tried to calm himself down. Before too much blood flowed down to his other head. Luckily for him, she stood back up and turned to see him there. The tub should be filled up in a couple of minutes, she told him, then looked a bit shy suddenly. Do you want my help taking your pants off? She offered, blushing in embarrassment, surprising Naruto. No, I think I can manage, but thanks for the offer, he said, declining her offer, knowing if he would only lead to one thing. Not that he wouldn't mind, she was a beautiful girl, it just his arms were killing him. Kaide understood and left, somewhat disappointed, closing the door as she did, leaving him by himself as he undid his pants, ignoring the pain it did to do so. After taking of his clothes, he shut the water off and stepped in and let his body sink into the water down to his neck. He then leaned his head back and let the warm water relax his sore muscles. Completing what his teacher calls punishment, took more out of him than he thought as he started to doze off since he was so relaxed. But just before he did, someone spoke. That teacher of yours is quite troublesome. In fact, I say she even has feelings for you, the voice from yesterday said, getting Naruto's attention. So, you finally decided to talk, he told the voice, who just chuckled. I find it that we can only talk when you are alone, it informed him. Then why didn't you talk to me this morning? I was alone then, he asked, a little ticked off. Well, unlike you, I don't need to get up in the morning, so I tend to sleep through them, the voice said, getting him to roll his eyes. Must feel nice not to wake up early every morning, he said sarcastically, getting the voice to chuckle. Anyway, are you going to tell me who you are now? Didn't we go through this yesterday? You will know who I am in due time. Until then, the voice said, but Naruto interrupted it. Live my life to the fullest. I got it. Naruto finished the sentence, then decided to see if his hypothesis was correct. You know, you're starting to sound like a broken record, Kyuubi, he told the voice, which was followed by an awkward silence. Not fazed by his sudden accusation, the voice said, what make you think I'm this Kyuubi you speak of? Quote, nothing really, just a vague memory that I have of a beautiful woman with red hair, down to her waist, with an hourglass figure in a crimson-red kimono, that looked down at me with so much sorrow in her eyes, when she did as if she failed someone very close to her. I don't even know who that woman was or why she decided to help me that day, but I did learn that woman's name. He told the voice that was surprisingly quiet. He couldn't tell if it were listening, but continued anyway. Gigi was the one who said it. You can't do this, Kyuubi, I heard him say. And right after he did, that woman turned and looked down at me, and said, I'm sorry Naruto that I couldn't protect you, and I promise to never let them hurt you again. That was what she told me. With the same hit of sadness you said last night. Now tell me, are you the same woman who saved me that day? He asked her, but the voice stayed silent. He was about to give up, until it spoke. As I said before, we shall meet soon. Till then, live your life without regret, the voice told him, then went silent, leaving Naruto to ponder what it said. Live without regret, huh? He repeated to himself as he leaned his head back and closed his eyes. That's easier said than done, he added and slowly fell asleep. It was about an hour later when he woke up, seeing he was still in the tub and figured he must have dozed off. He then got out, hoping he wouldn't catch a cold, which he rarely does. It was unbeknownst to him as to why he never did, but didn't mind it one bit. Once he got out, he noticed his arms didn't hurt when he moved them like before. It was as if they were never sore to begin with. He shrugging it off and chalked it up as one of the things he could explain. No matter how much strain he puts on his body a couple hours or so later, it were like nothing ever happened. Reaching for his towel that was on the counter, he wrapped it around his waist and made his way out the bathroom. Heading towards his room. "What are you two doing?" Primula asked, standing by the stairs, looking down at them with what looked like a confused look on her face. Hearing Primula speak made Naruto realize what he was about to do, and in the middle of a hallway too. As he looked up at his other housemate, with a shocked look on his face, Kaide was blushing up a storm. "Huh, Primula," Naruto said, dumbfounded, trying to find a way to explain the situation. "You see, Kaide and I were just playing doctor," he told her, then looked down at Kaide, who was still blushing. "Right?" he said with a sheepish smile on his face. "Why, yes, we were playing doctor," Kaide answered. "Doctor," Primula repeated, tilting her head a bit, then asked, "Can I play?" Kaide looked at her with shocked look on her face, while Naruto smiled at her and replied, "Sure," getting Kaide to look at him, not believing what he just said. "Once you get a bit older," he told her, but Primula didn't quite understand what he meant. After he stood back up, Naruto helped Kaide to her feet that still had a flustered face, and tried not to make eye contact with him and said, "Dinner is ready, so you can come down after you change," she told him, then went downstairs with Primula, leaving Naruto in the empty hallway. "Well, I guess I can say I crossed the border with that little stun," he said to himself as he headed to his room to change. "I don't even know what came over me, must be my hormones kicking up." With that, he changed into some loose clothing, and made his way downstairs and entered the kitchen, where he and Kaide sat on opposite sides of the table, eating in an awkward silence, while Primula ate her meal as if nothing happened. The silence did give Naruto some time to think of what to do after dinner, which didn't take long since neither one talked the whole time. Therefore, after he was finished, he told Kaide that he was going over to Narin's house to ask her father about something. When she asked what, he told her not to worry and left. Reaching the King of Demons' front gate, he pushed the doorbell, and a few moments later the man he wanted to see came out to greet him. "Oh, Naruto-chan, I didn't suspect to see you this late," he asked, a bit surprised to see the blonde-haired boy. "If you want to talk with Narin-chan, she was just about to head off to bed. If you want, I could get her for you." "No, you don't have to bother her. In fact, I'm here to see you," he said, getting a questionable look from the King of Demons. "And may I ask what for?" Bessie asked. "Is there a few reasons why Naruto would want to talk with him specifically, and the one he wanted wasn't it, so it had to be about that. I want you to tell me the truth about Primula, and how she is different," Naruto told him with a serious look on his face. "And don't give it's classified crap. If she is going to be staying with me and Kaide, then I'm going to need to know what she is for Kaide's sake," he added as the King of the Demons stared at him. "Fair enough, but I must warn you that what you're about to hear will change the way you look at that young girl forever," he warned him, but saw no change in Naruto's demeanor. "Very well then," he told him, gesturing for Naruto to follow, and led him towards his house. Well, there you have it. I hope it was funny, as I am not so sure how good I am at writing humor. All I do is write down what I think would be funny and hope the readers would too. I do hope you like the interaction I did with Naruto and Kaide. It was a scene from the game that I changed a bit and took a step further with it. I do hope you liked it, as it will stir something up for the next chapter. I know you'll like." With nothing else to say but this side note, I just ordered 2 games, Final Fantasy XIII for my 360 and Final Fantasy Dissidia 012 for my PSP from Amazon. Therefore, whenever they arrive, it will eat up most of my time and slow my updates down. Just a fair warning in case you don't see another update in a while. With that, I hoped you liked this chapter. Chapter 4, The Truth About Primula, A Fantasy Comes True, and the School's New Rule. So let me get this straight, Naruto spoke. Once the two kings finish explaining about Primula's condition. You telling me that Primula, the cute, innocent little girl I met on my way home, is a homunculus? Which the two of you, with the help of your scientist, created, in order to study the creation of life? He asked, getting nods from both kings, but before they could respond, he continued talking. And I could bet that the two of you kept her locked up in some kind of room, all alone, didn't you? He added, lowering his head, letting his bangs cover his face. That's partially true, we did keep her in a room. But she wasn't always alone, Yustoma voiced, but didn't get a reaction from the blonde-haired boy in front of him. It's true, she did have some company, for a short while that is, until she, Forbesi added. But his voice trailed off as he recalled something about what he was about to say. Until what? Naruto replied, still not showing his face, but they could tell he wanted to know. That is, until she died. He answered, with a hint of sadness and regret in his voice. And who was this person? Naruto asked. She was the second homunculus we created. She was like an older sister to Primula. Forbesi informed him. And when she died, Primula locked away all the emotions she rarely showed when she was with her, and became what you see today, he added. After this girl died, did the two of you just leave her by herself? Naruto asked, fighting back the anger he felt boiling in his stomach, knowing exactly what they were going to say. We had no other choice, she didn't respond to anyone. So we left her alone. What else could we have done? Yustoma said, almost as if he gave it no thought. Naruto was griped his sweatpants with his hands, trying to suppress the anger that wanted to spill out. It was working, until he heard Yustoma say, what else could they have done, and lost it, releasing the anger he held back. What else could you have done? Naruto roared, glaring at the two in front of him. I'll tell you what you could have done, he yelled as he stood up from his seat. You could have been there for her, even if she didn't show any kind of reaction to your presence, as long as she knew you were there. Someone who cared for her, like the girl did, but no, instead, she's ignored an experiment on, as if nothing ever happened. I don't blame her for not showing any emotions after crap like that, Naruto unloaded, his eyes flashing from his azure to crimson color. I hate people who only care for their own selfish needs. All you two, and those damn scientists of yours. Think of Primula, is some kind of experimental subject, a stepping stone to achieving you damn goals. Well, I got news for you, she isn't just some damn experiment. She may be neither a god nor demon. But she's still a living being, who has feeling just like you and I, Naruto exclaimed as he firmly gripped his hands into fist. It's true that she doesn't show any emotions. But it doesn't mean they're not there. If you looked into her in the eyes, you'd see how hurt and lonely she truly is. Naruto then sat down with his head lowered, picturing how Primula being locked up all alone with no one and how lonely she must have felt. It got him thinking of his own childhood, before he came to this world. As for the kings, they were dumbstruck by Naruto's reaction, wondering why he was getting this angry. They knew he'd get mad, but they were not expecting this kind of reaction. It was as if he was speaking from experience and got them wondering if he went through something similar. Let me ask you something, Naruto said, getting their attention. Do you know what it feels like to be alone? I mean to truly be alone, he asked them. They were both slightly taken back from the sadness in Naruto's eyes. However, they didn't need to think about what he said and kept quiet, and he took their silence as a no. I thought so. I bet that the two of you were spoon-fed your whole lives, am I right? He said. Again the two kings sat in silence. Then let me enlighten you, Naruto began as he gave the silent kings a good stare as he recalling the feelings he felt as a child. To what it feels like to be alone, it's a feeling I wish for no one to endure, but to me, it's one of the most cruel feeling there is. To feel like the whole world against you, and no matter what you try or do, you can't seem to fill that void of emptiness in your heart. Now, try to picture a small child who goes to a park and begins to play with the other children, as any other child would, he told them. Then what to imagine, and they did what he complied by closing their eyes. Out in the hall, standing on the other side of the door, to the room where Forbesi, Yustoma, and Naruto were in, stood Narin. who was suddenly awakened by the sound of someone yelling and went to check whom it could have been, only for it, to her surprise, to turn out to be the man she were in love with. She wondered why he would be here in her house at a time like this, and like her father, she suddenly thought he'd chosen her. Placing an empty glass on the door, which she grabbed out of thin air. She tried listening into their conversation, catching the part where he started to explain about being alone. Next, imagine him standing there, watching as the other kids leave, one after another. As their parents are there to pick them up, Naruto said, seeing an uneasy look appear on their faces, and then said, "Now, imagine their parents scolding them, telling them, 'I told you to stay away from that child,' as they left. Leaving the child all alone, in the same park, with no one there to pick him up," he added, as his voice saddened, as it was his own memory. "Now, take that feeling you have and put yourself in Primula's shoes, and imagine that you're alone in that room with no one but yourself." Both kings, along with Narin, now knew how Primula must have felt, and were beating themselves up on the inside for not doing more than they should have. As they sulked, Naruto stood up from his seat and headed towards the door. "Naruto, hold on a minute," Fanboy called out to him, stopping him in his walk. Not bothering to turn to face them. "It was your memory that you wanted us to imagine, was it not?" he asked, but Naruto stood there in silence, and then continued his way towards the door. They didn't say anything after that. The fact that he stayed quiet was enough for them to believe what he said was true about his past. It only added more questions to the ones they had and wanted to ask him about, but knew it would only cause problems if they did now. Therefore, they let him leave, as there was nothing more to say, and hoped he could be the one to bring back Primula's emotions. "Well, Ma Bo, what do you think? Will he be able to restore Primula's emotions?" Yustoma asked his friend just as Naruto left. "It's hard to say, but I want to believe he is capable of doing so," Fanboy replied as he stared at the door Naruto used to leave. "There is also the matter of why he suddenly grew angry by how little we did for little Rimyu-chan. It's true we didn't do much of anything but experiment on her. However, the way Naruto could relate to her so suddenly was astonishing. It was as if he had gone through something similar." Fanboy said more to himself than his friend, and then remembered something he saw and asked, "Did you happen to notice his eyes though?" "You mean, when they flickered from his blue ones to a crimson color?" Yustoma replied, getting a nod from his demon friend as he crossed his arm over his chest in thought. "I wonder why that is. Could it be that he could possibly be part god or demon?" he asked, only for the king of the demons to shake his head. "No, like I said before, he is neither from the world of the gods or demons. Nor is he from this world. I would go as far and say he is from another dimension entirely," Fanboy told him. "All we can do now is watch and see what happens. Hopefully things will turn out for the best," he added, with the king of the gods silently agreeing with him. Narin stepped away from the door once she heard Naruto's footsteps, and when it opened, they made eye contact and her eyes widened a bit. She could see the sadness in his eyes as her father saw, and began to wonder if what her father said were true. But was snapped from her thoughts once he spoke. "You know, Narin, it's a bad habit to eavesdrop on other people's conversations," he said, after he closed the door. I'm sorry, please forgive me," she apologized, bowing her head. Naruto smirked at her sudden apology and said, "It's all right, so you can raise your head now." She did what he asked and raised her head, but still wondered if what her father said were true and kept fighting the urge to ask him. Naruto, on the other hand, didn't have much else to say since he had to get back over to Kaide's before she starts to worry herself to death. "I should get going. You know, Kaide, if I'm gone for too long she might call the cops," Naruto joked, giving her a foxy grin making her blush. "Well, good night, Narin," he told her, then started to walk away. "Good night, Naruto-sama," Narin whispered as she watched her blonde-haired crush walk away, while making his way towards the front door to the king of the demons and Narin's house, and admired the Western-style structure the house had. It was the first time he's seen a house like this, and this big, since it took up the 4 houses that used to be here. By the time he made it to the front door, he heard someone call out to him. "Naruto-sama, please wait," Narin called out to as she ran down the stairs. "Naruto-sama, is something wrong? Your face is a bit red," Narin asked, sounding a bit worried. Oh, no, nothing wrong, he said as he coughed into his fist, suppressing his blush. Just 2 melons bouncing in front of me, is all, he muttered to himself. 2 melons bouncing. Narin repeated, not comprehending what he meant by that, making Naruto eyes wide. Why would there be 2 melons bouncing? She asked him, still confused by it. Just forget you ever heard it, okay? Naruto asked, laughing nervously, hoping she wouldn't figure it out, but when her face suddenly turned beet red, he cursed under his breath. If that is something you like, I could make them bounce some more, Narin hesitantly asked, as her blush deepened from her own question. Don't say that, I would never ask you to do something like that, Naruto told her, who nodded. And if I were you, I wouldn't say that in front of Itsuki. Knowing that pervert, he'd ask how high, he added, getting her to giggle, knowing it was probably true. Anyway, what was it you wanted to ask? He said, getting to the matter at hand. Oh, that's right, she said, remembering why she stopped him in the first place. Well, you see, she trailed, still trying to convince herself to ask him. If it's important, don't be afraid to ask, he reassured her, giving her enough courage to ask him. It's about what my Otosan asked, she said, getting a questionable from him, knowing what she was going to ask. Is what he said true? Was that something from your past? Did that actually happen to you? She asked, almost on the verge of tears. Naruto, as to say, was happy to know there was some one out there who'd cry for how he was treated as a child. He only said that, so the 2 kings would know how Primula must have felt. If they believed what he said were true or not was all up to them. He never planned for Narin to hear him. Whom was here standing in front of him, on the verge of tears, asking if it were true, and made him happy to know she at least cared. Putting on a smile, he wiped the tears that formed at her eyes away and said, even if it were true, I'm glad to know you would cry for me. Of course I would, to think you were alone after hearing the other kids' parents telling them to stay away from you. Narin said as more tears started to form. But Narin, I never said it, Naruto began, but was cut off by Narin hugging him. Don't try telling me it's a lie, she said into his chest. I could tell by your voice that you were telling the truth, and if it were possible, I wish I could have been there for you. Like I should have for Rimuru-chan, she added, tightening her hold on him as her tears stained his shirt. Naruto didn't know what to say. Instead, he placed his hands on her small shoulders and lightly pulled her off him and looked down at her. Seeing how puffy her eyes were from crying, and tilted her chin up with his hand so she could look at him. Thank you, Narin, it means a lot for you to say that, and I'm sure Primula would feel the same, he told her, getting a small smile from her. Anyway, it's getting late, so you should get some sleep while I head home before Kaide decides to stop making me ramen because I stayed out too late, he said, getting her to giggle. After a brief exchange of goodbyes, Naruto left and made his way back home. It, for some reason, reminded him how the villagers treated him in his world. How they would chase after him until he fell or trapped himself by running into an ally with a dead end. Then tortured him by beating him with anything they could get their hands on, until either he passed out from the pain or they grew tired. His early childhood is what you could call a living hell, literally, but was later saved by a mysterious red-headed woman, named Kyubi. Then woke up in a hospital, which so happens to be the same place he met both his adoptive parents, in this world. It was almost as if he was given a second chance, however, that was short-lived, once both his adoptive parents died, which was the same day he regretted coming to this world. After that day, his new life went downhill, and soon after that, Kaide began to torment him, until they were about 14. She stopped after realizing how much more he had suffered from their loss. Did she regret what she did to him? As a way to make up for it, she started to do everything she could for him. It was something he never wanted. But no matter how many times he asked her to stop, she wouldn't listen, so he let her do what she wanted. It eventually led to what his life is now. He also found it weird that his savior had the same name as the demon fox that attacked his village. Maybe she was the fox, but found that impossible since the fourth Hokage killed it. And thought, why would a demon, hell-bent on destroying his village, want to save him of all people? And then push that thought aside. With all that thinking, he never realized he had already made it home, even thought it was a short walk to begin with, and was standing inside by front of the door. It wasn't until he heard Primula's voice, did he realize. "Naruto, why are just standing there?" Primula asked as she'd been staring at him, wondering what he was doing, until she finally asked him. "Oh, Primula, well, I was just thinking," he replied. "Thinking about what?" she asked in no intention as to why. "Well, about a lot of things," he told her. "Like what?" she asked again, getting Naruto to look at her, wondering why she wanted to know so bad, but figured she was just curious. "Well, that's for me to know," he said, then noticed she was wearing her pajamas. "Were you heading off to bed?" he asked, getting her to nod. Kaide said that it was time for me to go to bed, but I don't feel tired, she said with a yawn, getting a chuckle out of him. "I guess your body says otherwise." He laughed as he took off his shoes and walked towards her. "Come on, I'll walk you to your room," he added, getting a nod from her. With that, the two made their way upstairs towards Primula's room. Just as they made their way in, Naruto stopped Primula. "Before you go to bed, I want to tell you something," he said, getting Primula's attention. "I know you must have been alone in the world of the demons. But I just want to let you know that as long as you live here, you'll never be alone," he informed her, kneeling to her eye level. "And, if you want, you can think of me as your Oni-san. You can even call me that if you like, it's entirely up to you," he added, smiling at her. "Oni-san," Primula repeated with her head cocked a bit, as if the word were foreign to her. "That's right, but only if you want to," he told her as he stood up and ruffled her hair. "Anyway, it's time for bed," he said as he watched her climb into her bed. "Good night, Primula," Naruto told her as he left her room. Just as he was about to close her door, he heard a faint whisper saying, "Good night, Oni-san." It brought a smile to his face. It'll still take some time until he gets used to it. That's if she decides to keep call him that, but it will bring them that much closer to being a real family. After he quietly closed Primula's door, he looked down the hallway towards Kaide's room, then let a small sigh escape his lips. "Well, better apologize for what happened earlier," he said to himself while scratching the back of his head, trying to figure out how to apologize for something like that. Standing just in front of his housemate's room, he took a deep breath and opened her door, ready to apologize for what had happened in the hallway before dinner. However, as he opened her door, he was in for quite a shock. XXX Kaide's house XXX. At that moment, she had no clue as to what to do, and when she finally made up her mind, Primula showed up. Thinking about it now, she was glad Primula did. If not, the two of them might be doing that in the middle of the hallway. The thought of it made her blush, but Naruto didn't notice, as his mind was too busy thinking about something else. After sitting in silence for some time, she finally got the nerve to ask him about it, but remembered Primula was sitting right next to her. Therefore, she decided against it, since it wasn't appropriate to talk about that in front of her and would have to talk to him after dinner. Well, that's what she had in mind. But Naruto didn't think the same as he finished his meal and quickly placed his dishes in the sink, but before she could say anything, he spoke. "I'm going to head out for a bit, okay Kaide," Naruto told her as he made his way towards the door. "Naruto-kun, wait," she called out, getting him to stop just before he could exit. "Yeah, what is it Kaide?" Naruto asked as he looked back at her, seeing a worried look on her face. "Where is it that you need to go, especially at a time like this?" she asked him. Seeing no reason he need to leave unless. "Is it because of what happened earlier in the hallway?" she added, only for Naruto to smile at her. "Of course not," he told her, still smiling. "Besides, it's not far from here, so I'll be back in no time." "All right," he informed her. She was hesitant at first, but knew she could trust him and gave him light nod. With that, he left, leaving both her and Primula to finish eating, which didn't take long. After they finished, Kaide cleaned up the table and began washing the dishes while Primula sat in the living room, with her cat doll, watching TV. Once Kaide finished, she joined her and the two sat down together watching a show called Hello Kitty, that Primula seemed to enjoy. She figured because it was a show about a cat and was its main character. When the program was over, She had Primula get ready for her bath, after explaining that there wasn't going to be another episode of Hello Kitty until tomorrow. Finally getting through to her, they made their way upstairs where Primula took her bath as Kaide wondered where Naruto could have gone. Once Primula finished with her bath, she changed into her pajamas and went back downstairs into the living room, where she found another show about cats called Asobi ni Iku Yo. Let's Go Play. It was about a cute teenage girl with cat ears and a tail, which so happens to be an alien that came to Earth. Because her home planet civilization came to a standstill, it took Kaide one glance at the show to know it was an adult anime, since it was on the channel Naruto ordered, which had nothing but mature-rated anime. She tried to stop Primula from watching it, but no matter what she did, she wouldn't listen seeing she was little stubborn. Therefore, she gave up and let her watch it despite the fact it wasn't good for her and would have to talk to Naruto about it later as she went up to take her own bath. As she lied there soaking in the tub, her mind wandered to what happened earlier in the hallway. How close she and Naruto were about to kiss, then wondered if they were to continue would it lead to what she always hoped the two would eventually do. Heat rose tea over her face as her lower body started to get hot, and it wasn't because of the water, and it got one of her hand to venture down low. Just as her hand reached her womanhood, she started to slowly stroke between her folds, getting her lower her body deeper into the tub. However, before she could continue any further, she heard the front door open. Figuring it must have been Naruto, she realized what she was about to do and got a little embarrassed. Not as if it weren't the first time she played with herself, but it would have the first time she would have done it in a tub. Quickly she removed herself from the tub and wrapped her towel around her frame, and exited the bathroom. Then made her way towards her room. After closing the door, she leaned back on it and thought about what she almost did. She was still embarrassed about it, but was glad she heard the front door open, or else either Primula or Naruto would have heard her. Releasing a small sigh, she began to dry her hair as she made her way over towards her drawer and grabbed a pair of white panties. She dried the rest of herself off with her towel, and then put her underwear on. Next, she fished out her nightgown and closed her drawer. Then walked to the middle of her room and was about to put her gown on until she heard the door to her room opened. Her head slowly turned towards her door just as it opened and was shocked to see Naruto standing there. "Hey Kaide, I wanted to apologize about what happened," Naruto began, but after noticing how unclothed Kaide was, his words slowly trailed off. Kaide on the other hand was still in shock, to say anything. Not in a million years did she ever think Naruto would walk in on her changing, even though it was a possibility. Now that it was happening, she was a loss for words. Her mind gone completely blank and was frozen in place as her gown slipped from her hands. As for Naruto, he was able to keep his cool, but tried to figure out what he should do next. The first thought that imminently came to mind was to apologize quickly and leave, but once her scent, which was all over her room, entered his nostrils, something deep inside him stirred up, causing him to lose all focus and, without thinking, he entered her room, closing the door behind him, snapping Kaide from her shocked state as she saw the same gleam in his eyes she saw when they were in the hallway. "Na Naruto-kun, what are you do?" Kaide finally managed to say. However, it was too late, as Naruto quickly moved from his position by the door over towards her, and kissed her. Her eyes widened once she felt his lips touch hers. She couldn't believe this was happening. Not long after that moment, she closed her eyes and then wraps her arms around his neck. She moaned once he started sucking on her lower lip, and when she opened her mouth, he slid his tongue in her mouth, causing her to moan again. Their passionate kiss was soon broke by Naruto, who looked at her and spoke. "Kaide, I'm sorry, I don't know what came over me. Seeing you like that in your scent, my body moved on its own," and Naruto tried to explain, but it seemed Kaide didn't care what he had to say and stopped him the same way he did to her, by kissing him. It was Naruto's turn to be caught off guard as Kaide stuck her tongue in his mouth, shutting him up. After they kissed a little longer, Naruto moved his hands down her back towards her ass and grabbed hold it, lifting her off the ground, getting her to yelp, then moved her over towards her bed. Then gently lowered her down onto her back, and realized she was only wearing a pair of white panties with a small pink ribbon on the front. making her look even more innocent than she already was. However, Kaide didn't feel like being the only person with barely any clothes on and started to take off his. Taking the hint, he took off his shirt and threw it off to the side, letting Kaide see the body he hid beneath it and couldn't help dragging her hands across it, feeling how toned his body was and had to wonder what kind of training he had put himself through, just to get it the way it was. However, before her hands could go any lower, Naruto. They weren't as big as Narin's or Miss Nadeshiko's. But he could care less about their size, all that mattered to him was how much they loved and cared for one another. He loved Kaide the way she was and wouldn't change a thing about her. He continued to rub her, getting her panties completely soaked in her love juice, causing her to moan louder. Kaide, if you don't keep your voice down, you might wake Primula, Naruto told her, well. More like teased her, since he knew she wouldn't be able to. I'm sorry, I'll try, Kaide answered with as much confidence as she could muster. Naruto-kun, you baka, you did that, on purpose. Kaide whined between pants. I don't know what you're talking about, Naruto replied, acting innocent as he started to finger fuck her, then notice her hips slightly moved. Kaide, you're moving your hips, he told her, a bit confused by that. No, my body, it's own, she replied, trying her best to explain. Naruto thought otherwise, then wondered. Kaide, have you been touching yourself? He asked her, getting another gasp. And no, I haven't been, she answered, clearly unsettled, which proved to him she has. Naruto-kun, it's not fair to you if I'm the only one who feels this good. Kaide tried to urge him on. Naruto understood what she meant and figured she was wet enough, but wasn't sure if she were ready. Are you telling me you want me to stick it in? He asked her to make sure she wanted it. Are you sure about this, Kaide? It's not too late to stop. If we start, I'm not sure if I can stop myself, he said, giving her one last chance to back away. Yes, I'm sure. I want us to become one, Naruto-kun, Kaide told him with determination gleaming in her eyes. If that is what you wish, Kaide-chan, he said, saying her name in a sexy voice while adding a chan suffix, causing her blush to deepen. Then I'll grant it for you, he added, then started to push his member into her. Since it was her first time, there was a lot of resistance, despite how wet she was and could see how much pain she was in as his penis slid in. He would have stopped if it weren't for Kaide telling him to keep going. His penis was able to slide in but stopped once it felt a strong resistance and knew it was her hymen, and that it was going to hurt her. Kaide, this might hurt, he told her, and she knew what he meant by it. He then kissed her and started to push until he was able to break through, muffing her cries in his mouth as his penis sunk deep into her. Ah, I can feel you inside me, Naruto-kun, Kaide said. He could hear the pain in her voice. Now, we're one, she added with a smile despite the pain she was in. Yeah, we are, Naruto replied as he kissed her. He stayed inside her, letting her adjust to his size as they continued to kiss, trying to get her focus off the pain. When she gave him a nod to continue, he started to move in and out of her tight hole that clung to him tightly. Soon enough, her pain was replaced with nothing but pure pleasure, and her moans started to get louder. He was sure if she moaned any louder, she could wake up the whole neighborhood. As if he jinxed himself, there was a knock at Kaide's door, getting both of them to hold their breaths as they waited for whom they knew was behind the door. Kaide, are you all right? Primula asked, still half asleep. Why yes, but what are you doing up? Kaide replied. I woke up to use the bathroom, and then heard sounds coming from your room, Primula answered. Oh okay, well, you should hurry, and get back to bed, Kaide told her, with her voice sounded tense and nervous. Naruto couldn't blame her, since he was still inside her. Kaide, you don't sound the same, Primula said, getting Kaide's walls to grip Naruto harder from the thought of being caught, causing him to grunt. Was that Oni-san's voice? She added, getting Kaide to think of whom she was talking about, and then figured she must be talking about Naruto. And no, he's not in here, Kaide exclaimed, causing her walls to squeeze Naruto's member again, making him move inside her, causing her to gasp. Kaide, quit squeezing me, Naruto thought. Naruto-kun, quite moving in me, Kaide thought. It sounded like Oni-san, Primula repeated. Naruto-kun isn't in here, he's in his room, I checked, so head to bed, or you won't be able to get up in the morning, Kaide told her, hoping she would go back to bed. Okay. Good night Kaide, Primula said as she yawned and headed back to her room. Gee good night, Kaide replied as she and Naruto let out a sigh of relief. Just then, Naruto felt some more of Kaide's love juice seep past his member. Were you aroused by that just now? By the thought of being caught? He asked her, only for her to deny it, getting a chuckle from him. Anyway, I think it's time for me to finish what I started, he said as he used his whole body to thrust in her, making her dig her nail into his back. She was still tight and her wet inner walls clung to him, making it that much harder for him to move. It took a lot of concentration just for him not to blow his load, and every time he would hit her back wall, she would squeeze him even tighter. However, that didn't stop him. He wanted to make sure she reached her orgasm before he reached his. Therefore, he increased his speed, causing the sound of flesh hitting flesh echo louder throughout her room. Naruto-kun, I think I'm going to, she informed him, trying to keep her voice down. I am too, Kaide, Naruto grunted as he kept thrusting in her, feeling more and more of her love juice flow out from her. Not long after that, he felt her wall clamp down around him, stopping him at her deepest depth with his tip rubbing her back wall, almost driving him over the edge. With her walls clamping down around his rod, it made the tip of his penis swell up inside her, making it even more sensitive. The buildup of pleasure and the scent coming from her womanhood was making his mind foggy. He wasn't sure how much longer he could last. He was sure Kaide was on the same boat and continued thrusting in her as more of her love juice seeped out, making white bubbles form as they did. Naruto grunted almost at his limit. Me, too. Together, she replied as she wrapped her legs around his waist, pushed him deeper in her. Suddenly, Kaide arched her back and felt something inside her rush out, as Naruto gave one last thrust, causing him to release his load. He felt a warm sensation run through his manhood and his mind went blank as he came in his lover's womb, filling her to the brim with the rest seeping past his member. Kaide could feel him spurting inside her. It was hot and couldn't believe how much he released in her. It felt like it went on forever, until she felt him slowly pull his manhood out from within her with a slick popping sound. Wanting to find that answer, Kaide moved her head onto her lover's chest, listening to the sound of his heartbeat before she spoke. Naruto-kun, she spoke, getting his attention. Can I ask you a question? Sure, Naruto replied, still staring at the ceiling as he waited for Kaide to ask him her question. Where does this leave us, relationship-wise? She asked, not moving from her spot on his chest. Well, I know for a fact we can't go back to just friends, especially since we live under the same roof, he said, then thought about it some more. My guess is, we're lovers now, he told her, making her blush a bit. Or, boyfriend and girlfriend, but not official, he added, but it seemed like Kaide didn't like the sound of that as she got up to her hands and looked at him. Why not? She said with a serious look on her face. He thought it was cute how she was acting and knew how much she wanted him to be her boyfriend, but she didn't think about what it would do. If they did, not only would her groupies come after him more than they did now, but he would be crushing both Sia and Narin's dream, and it was something he couldn't do. There had to be a way where he could make them all happy, like some people say, if there's a will, there's a way, and he was going to find it. Until he does, he had to keep what happened with Kaide a secret. Well, just think about it, Kaide, he said, propping himself up with his elbows. Let's say that we did make it official, what do you think would happen, he asked. We would become boyfriend and girlfriend. She said the obvious, not thinking outside the box or the consequences it would cause. That's true, we would, but, he began, getting her attention. It would also cause your groupies to chase after me more. And I can't afford getting into fights on school property. Besides that, there's Sia and Narin. If we said we're going out, it would crush them, and there would be no point for them coming here. And I can't do that, he informed her. Kaide didn't see it like that, and having her crush explain made her feel terrible. She didn't want to have him chased by her stupid groupies and get him in trouble, nor did she want to hurt her new friend's feelings. But, What about her? What about her feeling? She loved Naruto as much as they did, so, why can't she have him as a boyfriend too? Then thought. If only they never came, then he would be all hers, but soon as that thought popped in her head she pushed it away. She couldn't believe she thought of something like that. Tien tried not to think about it any further and tried to think of what to do now. So, what do we do now? She asked him as nothing came to mind. Well, for now, it's best to keep this a secret, he told her. Getting her to look at him with tear-filled eyes. Hey, what's with the tears? He asked her, not sure if he said anything that might have upset her. It's just, the way you say it, it's like you regret what happened. She answered, sounding a bit hurt by it, but all Naruto did was smile. I could never regret it, he said in a clam-carrying voice as he moved closer towards her. Because, I love you, he told her, making her eyes widen, and then kissed her. Kaide was shocked to hear those words come out of his mouth, but was happy they did and kissed him back, more fiercely than he did. AF. Chair they broke their kiss. Naruto leaned back down as Kaide laid her head on his chest, then pulled the cover over them and then listens to his heartbeat, using the sound as a lullaby. Just before she fell asleep, she whispered one last thing. I love you too, Naruto-kun. Naruto smiled again as he brushed some her hair from her face, then noticed the lights were still on. Grabbing one of Kaide's pillows, he tossed it at the light switch, hitting it, and shutting off the lights. He was surprised he actually hit the switch from where he was and with Kaide on him too. It was another thing he could not explain. Yeah, he knew he was from a world of ninjas, but it did not explain why he was so good at throwing almost anything at his target and hitting it. It was as if he was a prodigy of some kind or a son to a great ninja. But that wasn't possible, was it? Pushing his thoughts aside, he knew it was getting late, so he decided to get some much-needed rest and he closed his eyes. Just as he did, the seal on his lower body started to glow crimson red, then disappeared, getting the voice in his head attention. It appears that I fully recovered my chakra, but that can't be right, the voice thought to itself. I only have half of what I should have, so, what happened to the rest, unless, it added, then thought about it some more. No, that's absurd, he doesn't even know how to use chakra. It's probably cause of that jutsu. I must have used more than I thought, so it might take longer for it to return, the voice told itself as it yawned and then fell silent. XXX Kaide's bedroom. XXX. Naui, ing that thinking about it won't change a thing, got out of bed, and checked the time, seeing it was 6 in the morning, then realized that her alarm didn't go off, or it did and she didn't hear it. Either way, she slept in. And then noticed that Naruto wasn't in her bed or in her room for that matter. Before she could worry any further, a delicious aroma filled her nose, causing her stomach to growl. Quickly she grabbed her nightgown, which was on the floor, and put it on, then made her way downstairs, trying to figure out who it was that could be cooking. As she opened the door to the kitchen, he was shocked to see Naruto in his school uniform with an apron on by the stove. The sound of the door opening caught his attention and looked to see it was Kaide, who was standing by the door with a shocked look on her face. Oh, Kaide, I'm glad to see you're awake. I was about to send Primula to wake you, but I guess there's no need for that now, he said as he turned his attention back on the stove. Breakfast will be done in a bit, so why don't you take a shower while you wait, he told her, but she was still in shock by the fact that Naruto could cook, and simply nodded and left. As she took her shower, she, for some reason, felt hurt by the fact that Naruto knew how to cook. It was something she has always done for him and was one of the only things she could do to make up for what she'd done to him in the past. She then began to think he might not need her anymore, but before she could sulk, there was a knock on the bathroom door. Kaide, Primula's voice called out from the other side of the door. Oni-san asked me to tell you that breakfast is ready, she informed her. Okay. Tell him that I'll be down in a bit, Kaide replied, then heard Primula's footsteps walk away. Shutting the water off and stepped out of the shower, she dried herself off and thought about how Naruto might not need her. Her mind was so caught up in it, she didn't notice she had changed into her school clothes and made her way downstairs towards the kitchen. It wasn't until Naruto calling her name, did she realize that she was sitting at the table staring at her food. Is everything alright, Kaide? Naruto asked, a bit worried about her spacing out like that. Oh, I'm fine, it's just, she said but trailed off, getting Naruto to worry a bit more. It's just what, Kaide, he said, not sure what she was trying to say. If there is something troubling you just tell me, he told her in a caring voice. It's just, she repeated as she looked at the food Naruto made. When did you learn to cook? She asked him. That what's bothering you? He laughed, but Kaide didn't find it funny at all. It's not funny, Naruto-kun, she exclaimed as she looked at him. Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh, he apologized, then looked to see how serious she was. Truly, I didn't know that doing the cooking would upset you, he said, not suspecting her to get this upset over it. I'm not upset, she told him, crossing her arms over her chest. Yes, I can see that, he joked, finding it funny she was acting this way as he never gets to see this side of her. But, don't worry, this will be a one-time deal, he told her, getting her to look at him. The reason I made breakfast was because someone's alarm woke me up this morning, and when I tried wake the owner of the said alarm, they didn't want to wake up. Since I couldn't fall back asleep, I decided to make breakfast for once, he explained as Kaide blushed. So, Oni-san was in your room, Primula spoke, getting both Naruto and Kaide to tense up. Ah crap, I forgot Primula's was here. Naruto though, as Kaide thought something similar. What are you talking about? I never said I was in Kaide's room, he told Primula, who was still eating her breakfast. Then how could you hear someone else's alarm, if you are not in their room? Since I didn't hear neither of your alarms, Primula told him in her usual calm tone. Naruto didn't know what to say as she had a point. But still he couldn't let her know he slept in her room. Well, I have sensitive ears when it comes to alarms, and Kaide's woke me up, so I went and shut it off for her, Naruto bullshitted. Getting Primula to stop eating and stare at him. As they stared at each other, Naruto could tell that Primula was trying to figure out if her were lying, not by her facial expression, since she didn't show any, but by her eyes. They were showed him. How she tried to determine if what he said were true. It was probably because no one ever tried telling her a lie before, besides last night. Finally, after a few minutes of staring, Primula gave up and went back to eating her food, prompting Naruto to let a sigh of relief. With that out of the way, he then turned his attention back to Kaide, who also began eating her food. So, how is it? He asked her for her opinion, since it was the first time he cooked for someone else. It's delicious, she told him, a bit surprised. Really? That means a lot coming from the best cook I know, he replied, getting her to blush, but when he noticed that she stopped eating, he knew what she was probably thinking. But, I think it was just a fluke that it turned out so great, therefore, I'll let you make the meals for now on, so I don't accidentally kill us, he joked. It made her look up at him and noticed his smile that said, sorry for getting you upset, and then watch him eat his food. Even though he didn't say anything else, she knew what he meant to say and was happy. After they were finished eating, they put their dishes in the sink. But Naruto was the one who washed them, telling Kaide he was the one who made breakfast, therefore, he would be the one to clean them, and then told her to relax in the living room with Primula. Once Naruto finished, he joined them and noticed that Primula had the TV on, the anime channel he ordered that was showing a repeat of Asobi ni Ikuyo from last night. Without a second though, he sat down next to Primula with his eyes glued to the television, tuning out any other noise, included Kaide, as she tried to get his attention, but found it futile, knowing that if there was an anime he liked on, it was like she were talking to a wall. She wanted to talk to him about Primula watching those kinds of shows, not to mention who was going to watch her once they left. By the time the show ended, it was time for them to leave for school, and Kaide started to worry. She finally got Naruto's attention after his show ended and asked him who was going to watch over Primula, but all he told her was that he already found somebody and for her not to worry. She was skeptical about it, and wondered if what he said were true, but didn't have much time to think about it, as Naruto was at front door waiting for her. As they both left the house, they were greeted by both Sia and Narin by the front gate along with their fathers. Before they could head off to school, Kaide had to remind Naruto about Primula. Naruto-kun, what about Rimyu-chan? Kaide said, getting a goofy smile from her crushed lover. Oh yeah, almost forgot, he said sheepishly, as Kaide shook her head at how forgetful he was at times. It also got the attention from the others. Is there something wrong with Rimyu-chan? Narin asked fearfully, thinking something bad might have happened to her. However, Naruto waved his hand in front of him, stopping any thoughts that might pop in her head. No, nothing happened. It's just Kaide is worried about Primula's babysitter, Naruto replied, confusing the god and demon duos. Babysitter? Why would she need a babysitter? Sia asked and then said, I think she's old enough to stay home by herself. That's true, but it's only been a day or so, since she's came to this world. What, if she gets curious and wants to look around and end up lost, like you did, he told her, getting her to blush. But, I was child when that happened, Sia quickly defended in a pouting manner, getting Naruto to chuckle. The point is she could end up lost, but I think she's smart enough to find her way home, Naruto said, but the two kings were more interested in who he had found to be her sitter. So, who is this babysitter you found for Primula? Forbesi asked. Well, the two I had in mind are right in front of me, Naruto told him, making his eyes widen. You're not talking about us, are you? Forbesi replied, referring to himself and Yustoma. Who else am I talking about? Naruto said dryly as he looked at the two kings. Besides, it's not like the two of you have anything else to do all day, he added. But, we watched her yesterday, Yustoma whined. And, it's not going to kill you to watch her again. Naruto replied, then said, you shouldn't be complaining anyways, she practically another daughter to the two of you. That last statement made them tense a bit, but understood what he meant by it. As for the others, they didn't quite understand how that was possible. Another daughter, how's that possible? Sia asked, having now clue as to how. The same for Kaide. As for Narin, she had a slight idea what he meant but wasn't sure about it. Well, it's hard to explain, but I think they understood. Naruto told her, but they were still confused. Fair enough, we understand and you're right, so we'll wait over Primula until you return, Forbesi told Naruto, then elbowed Yustoma's in the ribs. Right, he added, looked at him from the corner of his eyes, seeing his friend nod in agreement. Well, now that's settled, we should be on our way to school, Naruto stated. Getting the girls to realize how long they've been talking. Because, I really don't want to be late, not after what Ms. Nadeshiko made me do yesterday, he added, shivering at the thought of what she might do next time. Before they were about to leave, Naruto walked over to Narin and leaned into her ear, getting her to blush, since he was so close to her, and whispered. What are you two talking about? Sia spoke, getting their attention. Oh, nothing much, Naruto replied, but Sia didn't buy it. Then why is Narin's face red? Huh, she shot back. Maybe, because it's the first time I got so close to her face, he replied. Getting Sia to open her mouth to counter, but stopped herself, knowing she would have done the same. I guess you're right, she replied, a bit disappointed that he didn't try anything like that with her. With that said, the four made their way towards school. As they did, both Sia and Narin noticed something different about Kaide, Naruto as well. There was a certain glow to them. Like something changed about them. They couldn't figure out what it was. Even Asa saw something different about the two, once she saw them, when they caught up to her on their way to school. But, when they arrived at class was when someone really noticed and had somewhat of a clue to what it was. XXX Verbena Academy XXX. Was the sound that came from none other than Midoriba Itsuki, who was sitting across from Naruto, with his hand on his chin in thought as he stared at him for some apparent reason. Itsuki, what the hell are you doing? Naruto asked, getting fed up with him staring at him. I'm trying to figure out what's different about you today, he replied as he stood up from his seat. What? Naruto said in confusion, not understanding what he meant as he watched him see tea in an empty desk in front of him and start to stare at Kaide. Itsuki, what are you doing? Kaide asked as she watched her four-eyed friend stare at her. Like I told Naruto, I am looking for something different about you, he told her as he continued to stare at her, making her feel nervous. After a couple minutes of staring, he stood up and started pacing in thought, getting some of the other students to stare at him but didn't notice them. Once Mayumi entered the classroom, she found it weird that Itsuki was pacing back and forth, and went to ask Naruto about it. What's up with him? she asked as she continued to watch Itsuki. I have no clue, Naruto replied, doing the same as Mayumi. Well, anyway, Mayumi began as she eyed Naruto. Is there something different about you? She asked, getting him to shake his head. You too, he said to her. What? She replied, not knowing what she did. Itsuki said the same thing. Even Asa-senpai said there was something different about Kaide and me, he told her. Prompting her to look at Kaide and notice there was something different about her too. Now that you mention it, there is something different about her too, she said, crossing her arms trying to figure out what it could possibly be. However, before Naruto could reply, Itsuki interrupted him. Aha! I finally figured out what's so different about you two, he exclaimed, getting everyone in the class attention. It's because the two of you hate S. He never got to finish his sentence because Naruto, who swiftly jumped out of his seat, covered his mouth with his hand and cursed that perverted mind of him. What the hell do you think you're doing? Naruto whispered to him. If you would have said that, I would have every one of Kaide's groupies after my ass, he told him. Still covering his mouth as everyone else looked in confusion as to what was going on. Now, I'm going to remove my hand, and if you say what I think you were going to say, I'll make sure you never be able to do that with anybody. Understood, he threatened him, getting Itsuki to gulp and nod, knowing his friend would do what he said. Good, Naruto said as he slowly removed his hand from his friend's mouth and sat back down. With Itsuki doing the same in the seat in front of him. But, that proves that I'm right, Itsuki told Naruto, who rolled his eyes. It doesn't prove anything, Naruto replied, but Itsuki was buying it. All right then, Kaide, he said, getting the said girl's attention. Tell me, was what I was about to say true? He asked her. Well, why you see, she stuttered as blush appeared on her face. See, that proves it, he told Naruto, who shook his head. Again, it proves nothing, since Kaide would always get flustered and start stuttering if you asked her that. Naruto replied, yeah, I guess you're right, Itsuki said as he thought about it some more. The other students who were watching suddenly lost interest and went back to what they were doing prior before the sudden outburst. However, Mayumi, along with Sia and Narin, wanted to know what was going on. Excuses me, Mayumi voiced, getting their attention. What the heck was that all about, and what are the two of you talking about? She asked as both Sia and Narin walked up behind her. Oh, I was saying that Naruto and Kaide had S, Itsuki began to say before he felt a huge amount of ki sent his way from his blonde-haired friend, stopping him before he could finish his sentence. What I mean to say is, that Naruto and Kaide have such lovely hair today, that's why they look so different, he said. Laughing nervously, getting Mayumi to sweat drop. You see, Itsuki solved the mystery to why Kaide and I looked different today, so there is nothing to worry about, Naruto told her. Don't feed me that carp, Mayumi exclaimed. If it got you to jump out of your seat like you did, then it had to be something bad. Now tell me what it was, she demanded, but before she could even get an answer out of him, the bell rang. Damn bell, she cursed, then looked at Naruto. Don't think you're off the hook, mister, just wait. Until after class I'll get it out of you, she told him as she, Sia, Narin, and Itsuki made their way towards their seats just as Ms. Natashiko opened the door. You heard the bell, butts in seats, their teacher ordered as she looked around the room. I'm surprised you're not late today, Uzumaki, she voiced as she took attendance. Well, you know me, miss, I'm full of surprises, Naruto jokingly replied, getting her to sigh as she shook her head. Anyways, before I begin class 1, have an announcement, she said, making sure she had everyone's attention. As of today, the school has passed a new rule that all students must join in an after-school activity, she informed them. TTING dumbstruck looks from most of the class. I know it's sudden, but they're giving everyone a 1-month deadline to find a club, and if you fail to find one in that given time, they'll randomly put you in one, she added, then opened her planner. Now, that's out of the way, I'll be teaching you all about. As she began teaching the class, the students who weren't in any clubs, including Naruto, were now thinking of what club to join. Well, there you have it. I would prefer it if you reviewed on the fanfic site instead of here, since I'm usually there anyways. In addition, I will Only be posting chapters that I can't post on fanfic here. The end. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.